Welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Turner, also known as Wolf. So let's get this party started. 150 people in the chat. It's a good way to start the show. We're bringing our guests on in about 30 minutes.
How's everybody doing tonight?
So, folks, wow. Bunch of stuff going on here. So apparently there's a lot going on that we're not going to get into this other guy, what's going on with all that. This is not what we're going to do. But I just want to say this. It seems like it's become like part of it where if you go on someone's show or they come on your show and you don't agree with everything they say, that there's got to be, there's got to be this snippy attack that happens. I'm not really understanding why this has to be, and one of the people that's chosen to be a part of this mess, whatever he does that's his shtick. Him and his guys jump on people who they didn't do it to me when I was on there, I guess because they knew, but I should have looked in his beady little eyes and seen the anger welling up in them. I'm down, looking back and know what I know now. He probably wanted to. But anyway, his books are garbage anyway, so whatever. There's one I think that was good, but the other was just too stupid. But, you choose a side. So anyways, folks, that's what's going on. We got this stuff happening with these people, but we're not going to focus on that. Tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to do what we do at Paranormal Roundtable. We're not going to bring the drama here. I did a live last night. That live is not available because Anthony deemed it too offensive, right, Anthony?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. I mean, just
put the camera on you.
Just a teensy-weensy little bit. So, I mean, it was there for the duration that it was there, and those of you who were there for it were there for it. Our people heard it, and, God bless y'all. And then, but we can't keep that on the channel. So,
Yeah, I mean, it was, I thought it was great. It was a YouTube exclusive, Angry Josh, but you had to be there.
It's a temporary YouTube exclusive. Yeah, you literally, you just had to be there. You had to be there, man.
If you weren't there, then you missed out because we're not doing a repeat performance. I just, Bettina made a show. Or did an addressing of her in her group of her people, and I just had enough of it, had enough of the bull crap, and I felt bad for her. And folks, if Bettina leaves this field, I'm gonna tell you something. She is the only black female that's doing this as a host of any show for this stuff. And this isn't virtue signaling. This isn't me trying to be, oh man, none of, dude, I'm not. That's not me.
No, she gets harassment because people are intimidated by her speech, her presentation, her intelligence, by her content, and rather than attack that, they just go for low-hanging fruit and attack her race and her gender. I've said that before, and I stand by it.
And what they say things like, you're only here because of that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not true, and these people are basically attacking every single thing we have. They're attacking our families. They're attacking our friends. They're attacking listeners of the show. They are pushing hard into every single facet of our lives, and it's become a burden and a problem. So just please pray for all of us that we can get this all resolved. We can move on with our lives. We're sick of it. We're sick of being attacked. The only way I've been able to deal with it is just humor.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just trying to be funny about it, because what else can you do? Thank you, Larry, for that donation. Did 2 roofs today, Larry said. Thank you, Larry Fisher and Sons Roofing, for all your roofing needs.
Mhm.
So definitely,
And if you need any roofing work done, he can get it done quicker than anyone else can, because his contractors prioritize jobs for him because he treats them right and he pays them well. If you go with the other guy, you're just going to wait as long as you wait, and that's all there is to it. But with Larry, you're a priority. So use Fisher and Sons if you have any hail damage on your roofs, and I'm sure a lot of you in Central Texas, I'm sure you do. So reach out to him, give him business. He succeeds, we succeed, and vice versa. We're all in this together.
yeah. Also, tell them about the email address and the Patreon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so if you want to submit your paranormal stories, your personal experiences to the show, we got the email address at the top of the screen. Hang on, let me pan over. So right there, you see it scrolling at the top of the screen on when I pan over to Wolf, and you'll see it throughout the show. So it's Josh Turner at protpodcast.com. Our Patreon is right there at the bottom left-hand side of the screen. It's patreon.com/prtpodcast. If you join, we give you credit in our videos. We have all your names on a title card, giving you special thanks and recognition because you deserve it. And we'll send you a swag bag. We have $10 tiers all the way through $50 tiers, regardless of what tier you sign up for. The things you get in your swag bag will give you more than your money's worth. We give you shirts, books. If you want a hat instead, just say, hey, I'd like a hat instead. Stickers, keychains, little Texas souvenirs. I mean, it's really cool stuff. We want to show our appreciation. And all of you who have been waiting on your swag bags, we have sent them out. So, like I said on this past Tuesday's episode, be looking for those in the mail. You will get them very soon. And thank you.
Yeah, there was somebody that said they didn't get a book from way back. If you were owed something, you haven't gotten it, just hit us up and we'll make sure it gets done. But yeah, that's what's going on. So, anything else? Is there anything you guys want to talk about before we get started? I'll be real honest with you folks. It's been such a hard week with everything we've got going on. I got a lot of stuff going on besides the show and also this stuff with these people. It's been a very hard week. I've not been able to get a lot done. Trying to get, people's encounters and then getting prepared for the show has been a pain in the butt. And I am really tired. And I'm also just tired of their crap too. So, if anybody has anything they want to talk about.
Oh, Barton's in here with us. Hi, Barton.
Hey, Barton.
Humanoids with Barton Nunley. That's his YouTube channel. Go do yourselves and Barton a favor. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel. Barton is an OG in this paranormal community. He's been at it since I don't even know how long. The first book I know of his came out, I believe, in 2009 or 2010. So he's been at it for at least that long, and he's got a lot of good information. And he's on YouTube. He's joining the YouTube game. And he does really cool stuff. Go give him a like, subscribe, show him the same love that you show us because he has more than earned it.
Yeah, Lyle too. Lyle Blackburn.
Good friend of ours.
He just came out with another episode called Monster Bistro.
Yeah, Monstro Bizarro.
Bistro.
I don't know
what. What the heck was that?
Monster Bistro, like where you go to eat monsters, or you eat with monsters.
No, it's a bistro for monsters.
Or a bistro for monsters where people walk in and they're on the menu.
Yeah, that sounds right. It's like it's like the cryptid dating show that Hellbent Howler were asked to do. The cryptid bistro.
Yeah. So we have almost 300 people. We got about 30 minutes. I am so tired. I'm so wore out. So tired of all this mess. There was something I wanted to talk about. I can't remember what it was now. Bistro. Monster Bistro. I am so tired. We're trying to get this thing done with this lease over here at the studio. We may end up in another place because I don't know if we're going to see eye to eye on this lease. When they want to jack up the rent by like $300 a month. I don't know. Don't know what's going to happen, guys. Pray for us so we can get that resolved. And who knows? Might have to put the show on hold for a couple weeks so we can get something set up. Can't do it at my house because freaking animals are running around. So, let's go ahead and call our guest, get started. Probably
Okay.
do the best thing we could do. No. Yes. Yep. Start calling.
Hello?
Hey,
Hey,
you guys ready? We're on the
we
air.
are.
Good, good, good. Folks, this is, you want to introduce yourselves?
I am lead tracker E, and with me is Jerry Williams.
So, hi, Jerry and Ella. I call you Ella. That's what we call you. And folks, this is that she said lead tracker. Now, explain to the audience what it is you do and who you are.
Is this just gonna be a phone call? If it is, then I can relax a little bit.
Yeah, it's just a phone call.
Just a phone call, and it's the audience is listening, but you don't have to be on camera or anything.
Oh, all right.
Okay, he's glad he's taking off that hot hat. And we are wearing our PRT shirts.
Yeah, we have our
They're so
PRT shirts
comfortable.
on.
Very soft, good shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made a good material.
Well, we wish we could have had you on, then we could have showed off the PRT shirts. Well, that's fine.
Well, a little bit about us is that we're a tracking team. We're the lead trackers. We track for missing and murdered people. Well, the Choctaw Missing and Murdered group, but we track for lost people in the mountains and wooded terrains that other people they're not experienced to do. We're professional trackers as well. This is what we've just been doing lately is doing track and locates and people who have activity, Bigfoot activity at their homes. We go there and start the deterring process. We got a film, a 3-hour film on YouTube. It's called Tracking and Deterrence 101 for homeowners. And that's a 3-hour film of how we do things when we go to new places that we've never been. We start off by getting the confirmation of what's around the home and audio and visual, then thermals and night vision. And we just wrote a book only because there's too many people that we couldn't talk with for hours at a time, and everybody had the same questions, and no, everybody was only at a certain point. So instead of talking to everybody individually, we decided to make the book, and well, other people wanted us to make the book, so we kind of got talked into it, and so we designed a book to help people to identify predator Bigfoot activity around their homes and places that they have recreation, and it also lets you know what not to do. But if you are already having activity, if you've gifted or something like that, it also teaches you how to get out of that situation, and the deterring techniques are all in the book. Um, but there's different kinds of Bigfoots, and they have different duties and different jobs. So it just depends on the situation and the time of the year on which techniques we use.
And when you talk about Bigfoot predator being around someone's property, like explain exactly what you mean. Like somebody goes to you and tells you that there's a Bigfoot, and then how do you do that? What goes on with that?
Have you read the book?
Well, yeah, but the audience needs to know. Like,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
He just didn't know how far back to jump in.
yeah. Because folks, you wrote the book, right? The Predator Bigfoot: The Spiritual Warrior's Path, and so it's available on Amazon. I got it when it first came out, and so going through the book, I know that there is a lot to talk about. Now we can't do it all in an hour or two on the show, but what Jerry has essentially done, and Jerry, you are a full-blooded Choctaw native, right?
Yes.
Yes. And so one of the things that he's done, thank you for that donation. That's War Chief Tracker. See, that's Charles. Thank you. And thank you for everybody who's donated. There was someone who donated before, too, at the very beginning. I think that was Catherine Gay. Thank you.
Yeah, it was.
For that donation. But what you do essentially is you have, if there's a problem, right, and somebody talks to you about, because you don't believe that these things should be around people's habitat, like their houses and stuff, right?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So go ahead and explain that, I guess.
There are predators. Every single one of them is predators. And the people that are Bigfoot lovers and are trying to gift them are making a huge mistake. We get called in a lot of times when people have been following the bad advice and the bad examples on the Bigfoot shows and the Bigfoot podcasts, and they've created a problem for themselves or for the people that come after them by gifting and feeding. And I made these mistakes myself too by listening to these stupid shows. And
You mean a 9-foot tall,
but
800-pound monster isn't your
yeah,
friend?
yeah.
What a
And
shock.
Well, that sounds insane.
which I didn't really think they were friends, but I didn't, I remained neutral on them. I was like, okay, I'll try this, I'll try that, and by the end of it, they had made traps all around my grandson's play area. I already knew their hunting patterns by then, and walked out one morning, and there it was, just set up like he was just another little rabbit they were going to come get. It was life altering. And shortly before that, because of all the different experiences that I'd had on the East Texas property, I had contacted Jerry to get some information because I wasn't getting any clear answers from not one other group. It was maybe this, maybe that, maybe this. And the things just weren't jiving with what I was seeing. I was like, no, I can, I'm not even a hunter, but I'm not stupid. I can see that these are traps and tunnels and layers and sensors and things like that. And people just weren't noticing. I guess they just weren't out in the woods enough, or they don't recognize patterns. But Jerry filled in a lot of blanks for me and verified a lot of things for me that I had been seeing myself. And then when I saw that they were setting those traps even for my grandson in an area, mind you, that had very nearby a boneyard that was as big as a football field. And that's only as far as I got to explore before I needed to get out of there. It was craziness. And so for me personally, my goal is, it's a lot of the grandmothers out there in the woods by themselves, or elderly people watching those kids out in the woods that get sent for the summer. And these things are abnormally attracted to children, and they are watching the trampolines. They're watching from the wood lines and everything. They're beckoning these kids into the woods. They're using puppies to trick these kids into the woods. They're using mimicry of. We've got one little girl. She's 10 years old, and she got fooled by one that was mimicking her father's voice, and he wasn't even there. This kind of thing. So my goal is to get the people that are actually involved. It ain't the ones working in the office. It's the ones in the country that are watching the kids for the people that are working in the office that need to know what's going on.
I want to say something real quick about what you just said. Anthony and I, do you remember Summer?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
That worked at the gym.
Yeah.
She was friends with a couple guys.
Mm-hmm.
They used to come in there, big guys. They're both African American dudes, and they're really friendly guys. And they're usually leaving the gym by the time we come, and then sometimes we'll be working out, and I'll run into them. We'll stop and talk. But one night we were standing there talking, and Summer told them, I can't remember their names. I gave them my card, but they're from Alabama. And Summer gave them introduced us and told their names and everything. We exchanged information, and I can't remember their names off the top of my head because I haven't talked to them in a while. Because we do go to two different gyms. Sometimes we'll go to that gym, sometimes we'll go to the other gym. We've been going to the other gym lately. But they're always there around the same time of night. And so we were there, and they were telling us when they were children, and I need to get this full story from them. So next time I go up there and I see them, I'm going to talk to them. But I've just been super busy. But they are, I think they're like in their mid to late 20s, right?
Yeah.
And really nice guys. But they were telling us when they were children that they were on a trampoline. And there was a whole story there. Like this Bigfoot literally, it tried to grab one of the kids while they were jumping, their cousin. And so when you said trampoline, my ears kind of perked up because I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, that's weird. And then there was another story I got out of Arkansas, but go ahead.
In what reality is there any other creature, any other predator, even down to a mountain lion, to a human predator, that you would allow to build a blind to watch your children, and you would just go, they're just curious.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're just, an ancient tribe, and that makes it okay? No, it doesn't. They're cannibals. They're disgusting creatures. They're dangerous creatures. A predator is always a predator. As Jerry says, one doesn't go to charm school and the other go to predator school. Every one of them is a predator, even the little bitty ones. I mean, there's shows on TV about monster cats or My Evil Cat or something. It used to be on. A cat can tear you up, but you don't think a Bigfoot can? Come on now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the ironic thing is that. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say real quick. The ironic thing is that if you saw a man, just a regular man, watching your children, you would be alarmed. So
exactly.
So if you see a giant 7 foot tall monster, 8, 9, however tall they get, monster watching your child, how was that not cause for alarm?
Exactly. And what these things do, it may be a person's first encounter with a Bigfoot, but it's not that Bigfoot's first encounter with the human.
Oh yeah, I believe they always see you before you see them.
Absolutely. And they're watching, and if they're not ready to attack that day, they're what's the name? They're profiling, they're observing,
they're
learning how to
scouting.
mimic.
Yeah,
They're learning
scouting,
exactly
scoping.
what to do. It's just sickening, the people and they're out here teaching their kids, we're going to a Bigfoot festival tomorrow in Honolulu, and I'm not sure, but I sure hope that they don't have a Bigfoot calling contest. They'll get these little kids up there and teach them how to holler for Bigfoot. It's just insanity.
Yeah, you don't need a holler to attract Bigfoot. If you're in its territory, I'm fairly positive it's going to know that you're there. And I believe that if you live to tell the tale of an encounter with one of these things, it's because it's allowed you to live.
Right. And yes, Barton, that's exactly the word I was looking for. It escaped me for a second. Grooming. That's exactly what they're
Oh
doing. They're
yeah.
grooming. And they'll groom these lonely, isolated housewives and teens, and do just the same way that a demon will do.
Oh
They
yeah.
want to isolate people because they're the most vulnerable. So they're going to watch who spends a lot of time in the woods, who has to get out there to get away from the screaming and yelling in the house, or
Hmm. Oh, they're
they're
gonna look
just
for who's
predators.
alone. I mean,
Yes,
it's a
that's
basic
exactly
predator,
right.
basic hunting instinct.
Exactly. And that's what's going on. And there is a concerted agenda and a huge effort at covering up the violent nature of these things.
Why do you think that
And
is? Why do you think that there's a specific agenda to cover up how dangerous these things are?
because the world is
Biblical.
run by psychotics,
It's biblical.
it is biblical, yes, and the military even calls some of them assets.
Hmm.
Uh, there's going to be the certain amount of people that will think that what they're doing is for the greater good, and they buy into the whole thing. If people don't know, they'll be safer, and that's a bunch of crap, because you can't prepare for what you don't know exists.
Yeah.
That just doesn't make any sense. There's people that stand to make money. It's all just the same old, same old. Why they have all their secrets, and we've reached a tipping point where we just can't have this anymore. We can't accept this anymore. A lot of the victims are also the homeless people and the runaways that nobody notices,
Oh
and
yeah.
that that
And
ugly
that nobody's
people
gonna
with
miss.
yeah, unfortunately, drug addicts,
Hmm.
people that are going to hide in abandoned buildings and under bridges and in the woods. And
We just got off. We just got another email from another person who's having activity. We don't know all the details right now, and we've also got trackers right now in the field who have activity. They're documenting everything. This is happening everywhere, worldwide, United Kingdom, everywhere.
since 2020, they had remember in 2020 everybody was told to stay inside. It's another
Hmm.
lie, another deception. When of your life in your life have you ever been told to stay inside and don't get fresh air and sunshine when you're you know for your
Yeah.
health? But during that time when everybody was out of the woods, these things advanced, and so they're up here at the tree lines of schools, they're by the dumpsters at apartment complexes and hotels and restaurants.
Yeah. They
We
just
have
claim
yet
more
to go
territory.
into any town and not find sign. We've been in suburbs in Houston and found sign along the walking tracks.
Yeah. It's surprising, but also not.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's been happening not just with Bigfoot, but with Dogman, with the rake. We noticed like a spike in activity that people were noticing closer and closer to their habitation, like human habitation, that was becoming more prevalent,
Yep.
and it was happening more and more often, and it was during COVID, like during the
Yeah.
time of that, and so there was a lot of activity that took place. I know that there was a friend of mine. She's a school teacher in a small town here in Texas, and well, that's a friend of mine's wife. But she had said that she told my other friend. He said, "Hey, you might want to get in touch with these people." They had a school. It's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but when the kids were going back to school, they were seeing a Bigfoot that was behind the fence where they were playing in the playground, and the kids kept going over there and looking, and then running. And the teachers kept thinking they were playing around until finally somebody said, "No, these kids are seeing something." And that happened
Hmm.
like that played out according to a couple other YouTubers and podcasters I've talked to. That's played out a few times that happened after COVID when the kids were starting to come back from school.
Hmm.
They were seeing these creatures. So what you're saying makes a lot of sense. Also, some of the people we were working with, things kind of slowed down a little bit, and we had all this protocol we had to go through for the construction sites that we were guarding, and with less, because a lot of those construction sites are out in the middle of the edge of town or whatever. Some of them aren't, some of them are. But the construction workers were starting to report weird things, like seeing things, and because the work had slowed down, they were using essentially skeleton crews to try to and it was just a big mess. And so one of our sites, all of us as a team did not see anything, but it was reported to us as security that some of the workers had seen something weird, which they described as a large hairy creature. They couldn't really make out a description enough to give us an idea whether it was Dogman or Bigfoot, what it was. But anyway, go on.
Well, for us, a predator is a predator, and these things are all mutations of the same original predator. So we don't care, and it's all explained in the book, but we don't care about the individual pockets that people want to put them in. They're all predators. They all follow the same patterns. They're all handled in the same way. They're all deterred in the same way. So other people can sort out which one is here and there, but they're constantly mutating. So they have a mixture of DNA, and so about the time you think you got it figured out, here's another one over here with a nose like that, or this one's got 6 toes and that one's got cloven. It's just a Frankenstein's monster that continues to mutate and continues to evolve. As we change, they change. People are trying to put them all in a box, and it's not going to happen. Just like they try to put God in a box, it's just not going to happen.
When you guys, you said you've seen all different types, and like, what do you mean by that? Like, explain a little further.
This is also in the book, and we can also get that book on Amazon.com. But all this information, every question that's coming up is in the book. Every answer is in the book. We've seen some questions roll up, and we're just saying it's in the book. But we can we explain about the DNA and the spider DNA, how it mixes, and there's never going to be a two Bigfoots that look exactly alike, because the multiple DNA in the Bigfoot's body always has a different configuration on what it eats, or because it's going through different DNAs, nothing's going to be the same. It's not like our bodies.
It's not a regular predator. It's not a regular species. It shouldn't be. Anyone that reads Genesis 6, same lines, same Nephilim lines, these mixtures should never have happened. Mm-hmm. And they shouldn't be happening. And then you throw in the military's mutations, the mad scientists out there that want to create all these extra monstrosities and add this and that. And you just got this whole basket of disgusting predators that should not be here. And that for some reason, with the Bigfoots especially, they got a great PR that's trying to make everybody think they're Harry and the Hendersons. We have photos we've seen them that look like a short alligator snout, and this is bipedal. We've got, just we also have a documentary, but every one of these things that people are separating into Wendigo, Dogman, Mothman, Lizard Man, these are all just different variations of the same mixed up creatures with multiple DNA and stolen human DNA.
Mm-hmm. I was just going to say also that in our documentary, we do sell that on our channel. It's $101. But you see multiple different faces of the Bigfoots that we've captured out in the field. And you also will see a live Bigfoot out there in a tree. It's moving around. You see the face moving. It's big, hairy. It looks probably about 500 pounds. It's a small one. And so it's hanging sideways in the trees. And we explain how they use the camouflage in the trees, even the hedgerows, to where people think that there's no Bigfoots out there, but they're in the trees hanging upside down.
And they'll stack up where there's multiple eyes. So this is why people get so confused. They're looking out there and like, is that one eye? Is that whatever? It might be, you might see 4 eyes, but it's from 4 different creatures. You're only seeing 1 eye each because they're stacked up and peeking around each other. And it's just very deceiving.
And if we can get the more people we can get to read the book, buy the book, they won't have these questions. And we was talking the other night on our channel that if we was to have stayed in our area and just got the education that was offered in this area, we wouldn't be having this interview, and we wouldn't be where we are today. But it's the same thing with people in cities. They only get a certain amount of education. They're not out in the mountains. They're not tracking. They don't have the culture of the tribes and the information that we have there also. So a lot of people only get bits and pieces of information, but the book puts it all together for everybody, so they don't get into these certain situations or start gifting or whooping or calling like that.
Yeah. And also, folks, not this Thursday. We finish up with Eric Palacios this Thursday, right?
No, this Thursday was his second episode with him.
We finish up with Eric Palacios coming Thursday.
Yeah, this coming Thursday, yeah.
And then
Sorry.
after that, then for the next 2 or 3, I think 3 Thursdays, we recorded with you guys. So a lot of stuff will be in there too.
Oh, yeah.
I would suggest go check out the book, though. It's a thicker book. I mean, and it does have a lot of really pertinent information in there. And it's really vast. Like there's a vast amount of knowledge that's been put into that book. So it's hard. You can't just stuff it all together in like an hour and a half and say, well, here it is. So I want to ask a couple questions here myself. And then there's some people asking questions in the chat, which are kind of like just reiterating things. But one thing I wanted to ask Jerry and Ella, have you ever been out in the woods? I mean, out in the woods or in the city or anything like that and just come across a toothless hillbilly that was just really annoying? Has that happened to you guys? I don't know if that's happened to you guys.
Yes, it has. And also Whitaker type individuals. And some of those actually the feral people run with. We actually have a tracker report where some feral people are running with the Bigfoots up in Oregon and becoming extremely more aggressive. And these people that claim that they live with the Bigfoots, well, they're either breeding with the Bigfoots or, you know what I'm saying? They're not really living with the Bigfoot. The Bigfoot might come here and there and, you know, pretend to gift with them and trade with them, but they're just grooming them exactly as Barton said.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you a quick story, folks, and this was given to us a while back, and I think when y'all were recording with me, we may have talked about it either on the air or when we recorded, I don't know, or if it was off air, but there was a lady that gave us a story, and it was like, I believe it was either in Washington or British Columbia, and like I don't have the notes in front of me to sit here and try to go over it, you know, but I remember she was part of a commune back in the 70s, and I think I told you this. And she was her and her sister and their mother. She had 2 sisters and their mother. And they were part of a commune, and there were these Bigfoot creatures that were coming to the commune. And the leader of the commune was like letting them take women. Like it was unbelievable what she was telling us. Like I was in total shock. I was like, what the heck? And she had a complete PTSD. Like there's no way she could get there and tell her story. It was like there's just no way you could get her to tell it.
Yeah.
Getting her to tell us was like a 3-week ordeal, like, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there, kind of jumping around, and it was just like, good gosh, man. I mean,
it's basically human sacrifice.
Yeah, and
it is absolutely.
They would breed with these things according to what she was telling us, and then after that, you would never see the women again. So the thought to me was like, what were they doing? And I get into it with people who are like, oh, these Bigfoot ain't gonna hurt you, you know, just down there by the creek, you know, just you know, going down by the creek ain't gonna hurt you, you know. And there's like giant squirrels, you know. I've heard people say that, and I'm like, dude, no, they're not. I totally do not believe that at all, because I get reports of them throwing things at people. Most recently, we had another one right outside of Burnett. Somebody had said that one threw a log, and his vehicle ran over it, and there were 2 others on the other side of the road. And what was that all about? Guy's name's Jeff. Like, I mean, I don't think he's lying. I think that really happened, you know? And that's not far from where the other one was, where it threw a big rock through a guy's windshield.
Yeah, we talk about that in the book too. There's certain areas of the road. When you see an area on the road that, you know, often has roadkill, or there's a curve nearby, or Those are ambush spots. Those are spots where that lonely car going 55 miles an hour, that they can predict is they're going to cause some reason there for that car to either wipe out there or get a flat there or have something placed to distract it. Maybe an animal will run out in front of it. You hear people talking about, I didn't hit that deer. That deer hit me. Well, yeah, it did because it was
Thrown.
pushed into that car because that person will wreck, or they may be bleeding, the animal may be bleeding, they can get two things of prey at one time. They may just come and lap up the blood and leave. They're more interested in the blood than anything, blood or soft organs if the person's dead.
There was a thing that happened to me and my wife, and I think I talked to you guys about this too, and we were driving down 29. Now, Eric, the shows we just did on Thursday, the last two, I don't know, have we talked about Highway 29 yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Highway 29, me and my wife were on there, and we hit a deer, and to this day, my wife says something made that deer run out in front of us because there were 3 deer that just ran in front of us, and it was like out of nowhere, and it was like right when we're up, you don't see anything, and then they just run in front of our vehicle, and we hit one. And then and now here's the thing: I hit it. And I had a grill guard on my truck. This was a few years ago, and I had a Toyota Tundra. And my wife was telling me we got to go back and check, make sure it's dead and whatever, And I'm like, I'm not. First of all, I'm not going to shoot it because it wasn't deer season. In fact, it was October. This might have been to the day even today. It was like early October, Now, it was right before I had to take a trip out to way out to the West Coast. And I just remember, I had to go get the fog light fixed, whatever, and that was it. Because that grill guard really saved us. But we hit this deer, and my wife said it was like it just jumped out in front of us for no reason, just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I told her, I'm not going back. First of all, I'm not going to shoot it because then that's considered, you're shooting an animal out of season. And then second of all, I told her, I said, you don't know what made that thing chase it going out in front of our vehicle. And
exactly.
I'm honest to God's truth. I thought that it could have been something like a Dogman or a Bigfoot because they both do that. And I know that because I hear stories like that from hunters and all kinds of different people. So when you get that, many people telling you it's something could be that way, it could be that way. And so I just told her, I said, I'm not turning around and going back. There's nothing I'm doing. I'm sorry, that deer, I can't help it. It is what it is. I felt terrible. But yeah, that is something that I have wondered about multiple times, and I don't know you guys. I told another story, and I wanted your opinion on this, and I wanted to get your answer on the air for the people listening. We had a woman tell us a story where she was intoxicated, and she pulled her off the side of the road. Where was that at? Lexington or? I can't remember the name of the town where she was at. It's not the one that drove through the invisible Dogman, but it was about 12 miles from there.
Okay.
And she pulled off the side of the road. We told this story on the show, and I wanted to get your opinions on it. She went to sleep, so she didn't have to drive intoxicated. And sure enough, I'm so tired of this job. My job is just my phone blows up on Fridays, folks. Sorry. Make sure that you'll see the text. Make sure that they get put in the right place.
Okay.
She's a triangle.
Okay.
So what ended up happening was she pulled over, went to sleep, and Jerry and Ella may have told you this. The Bigfoot type creature that came up to her window, long story short, the audience has already heard this. It reaches in, and when she came out of her body, she had like an out-of-body experience, but she was like a ball of light. And this thing was reaching in for her as the spirit, trying to swipe at her, not messing with her body. Why would it, if it's a physical, just purely physical flesh and blood creature, why would Bigfoot go ahead?
Yeah, they're not purely flesh and blood creatures. Real quick, I'll answer that question in just a second, but pages 134 to 137 on road trips and dropping pops, land spike spears, other weapons, ways that they get people. That's the section they'll want to look through in the book for the last question. And then road traps. I said road trips, road traps. Um, they will even they're interested in the soul. That's the essence of they're not even supposed to be here. The essence that they're stealing from the humans is the human's spirit, the spark of divinity that's within us. They don't have that. They're not even supposed to be here. They weren't supposed to mix with us, and so they got to continue to feed off that energy. And even this is why when they kill something, they've been known to grab it and look in its eye as it's dying. They're trying to suck that soul right out of, they want that essence. That's their fuel.
Yeah, they
You
want
know, they
everything
want
they
the
can get
blood
out
and
of
they
it.
want the spirit. Say it again.
Oh, I was saying, yeah, they want everything that they can get out of it. Just
Yeah,
suck them dry, physically, spiritually, emotionally, everything. It's insidious.
exactly. And that's one reason they try to induce the fear and project the fear at people, because it gets the adrenaline pumping. And they can feed straight off that energy, or it'll soften up the meat if they're ready to eat the person at that time. You know, it's as simple as that.
And there's a lot of people in this community that are still, it's changing. It's changing. It is, but slowly. But there's still a lot of people in this community that just absolutely will not accept that this thing is not just a giant ape running around out there, even though they've had 70 years of nothing. I mean, nothing. They
Yeah.
have nothing. I mean, some footprints. That doesn't prove anything. That proves that something's running around out there, but that doesn't prove that it's just a giant monkey man. And I just
Right.
think the notion of that is so
Stupid.
just stupid. I can't get over it.
If there's ape in them, it's because they have ape DNA in them, because they consumed it, or you know, that's why. It's not because they're just a descendant of the apes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
There's a lot of creatures that are not supposed to be here. The shark, the octopus, the hawk, the falcon,
The
the
predators.
rattlesnake, the crow. Those things are not supposed to be here. Those are a new mixture of predator DNA that got into the dove, that got into the fish, got into the birds and the land animals.
That wasn't God's original plan. You know, that all came later, infecting everything.
And when you talk about these, though, this is the Choctaw creation story, right? What you're talking about, Jerry?
It is, but it's known worldwide.
No, oh, absolutely. You've traveled all over the place, and you've studied a lot of different cultures. I mean, when we spent 2 days with you guys, we got to know a lot about you. And the creation, there was another YouTuber that was trashing you about your story, who he claims
The
to be
same
native.
one that was claiming that the nephews were doing something.
Oh,
when
yeah, him.
They were actually with us for the entire weekend.
That whole weekend, yeah. So I guess we all did it together. We all just said, "Hey, let's go do this."
Yeah.
But he was trashing you, basically talking about your beliefs. At the same time, he's claiming he's native, but yet he doesn't even know anything about these creation stories. What's crazy is that what you were saying, though, that is a Choctaw creation story. And when you go back in time and you look at it, there are stories that match up to that. And different now, China's a big country, and it's got a lot of different types of cultures. And I'm happy to say that I have a couple people who have lived in China that are actually good friends of mine, and they have given me and got me in touch with a lot of people who got really good stories. One of them that I was talking to recently, they were giving me a story, and I don't even know which province it comes from, and I just kind of breezed over it. One of them was telling me something very similar, though, of a creation myth or legend or story that was almost identical to what you were saying. And it even talked about this golden orb spider. Now, it was so weird when I talked about it, but I thought weird, and not the way that the story was weird, because I've heard this before, but there are multiple people who believe that there is this connection to the spider. And then we get reports, and this is long before I ever met you or knew who you, I didn't even know you existed, that were telling us that they would see these creatures, and Anthony Tony can attest to this, low crawling, and the way they said that they crawled looked like spiders.
Yeah, it's very erect in the way they move.
Yeah, even like they're even moving on their fingertips. It was weird, like
flatten out.
Yeah, crawl under fences and
crawl.
fit in places they shouldn't be fitting, and you're just going like, what in the heck is going on here? What do you guys think about that?
once you see the spider connection, you can't unsee it. The no neck thing, just everything about them, and that cosmic spider DNA is the binding DNA.
And also in the DVD, the documentary we made, we talk about how it's nothing but a huge spider with a man-like form.
Mm-hmm.
And
They
Work right now. We got a problem. One of our parking garages, we've been having heck with that place. We had one last night and have another one. It's the same thing. Guy breaking in.
so for our listeners, Jerry and Ella, can y'all detail the Choctaw creation myth Choctaw creation story as it pertains to the cosmic spider? Because it's something that is, it's not really information that's common in the community, but I think it's really important that we have these ideas out there, and that people are presented with something new to give them something to think about that they would never have thought about otherwise.
Well,
it's called The Legend of Time. It's found, it starts at page 43, but it's like 7 pages in the book, so it's quite a long to go into. But the gist of it is a cosmic energy spider that they attacked, went through from one world to the next, to the next, to the next. And then finally, Earth is the last hope, the last
bastion, yeah.
yes.
Let me put it. I'll put it in a very summarized, because I remember Jerry telling the story. Basically, these comets, and I'm gonna throw in this Chinese story because I'm gonna talk about that eventually. I'm gonna on the show, or maybe if I could get her to come in, and her son, they both do kind of what you do, but they do it in China, which is pretty cool, and they do it out in the middle of nowhere, and into Mongolia. But they're actually half Mongolian, half Chinese. One of the things that was told to me, and this is very similar to what you guys believe, was that this they called them golden orbs, that they fell from the sky, but inside of them were like hatchling spiders. But to us, they were tiny spiders compared to the big cosmic spiders. But to us, they would have been like giants. Almost kind of like the way that they believe, their original tribal belief that was actually like more Mongolian. The way that they believe is really weird. It's like how it's weird in the way that it mirrors some of the Native American beliefs. That we were seated here, by a higher deity, but that something happened. Things aren't the way that they're supposed to be because these creatures came here, and what they did was essentially begin to eat and kill and eat everything. And when they stalked humans, they actually took humans, and whatever they would eat, they would absorb the intelligence, and the humans were the most intelligent species, so that they ate humans and gained more knowledge and understanding of the planet that they were on. But humans at that time were actually advanced. They weren't primitive people just barely learning to walk or crawl. They had a civilization and a society, and a lot of the humans went underground. Now, what ended up happening, the humans who went underground ended up becoming like some sort of weird subspecies, from what I understand. And the ones that managed to stay above ground, but then there was like a flood that helped wipe out the spiders. But the spiders actually, this is not what I'm saying I believe or what you guys believe, but this is a Chinese, northern China, southern Mongolian legend, tribal legend, that it actually caused the flood and that the water came from below. Now, when you guys were telling that story, I thought it was very interesting because when you talk about it in the book, you do explain a lot of that, and it makes sense. It's too much to get into in detail, but the world is actually inverted, I believe, and that's in your belief,
Exactly.
right? Yeah. And so
Upside down and backwards.
And that was so weird. When the Chins were telling me this story, I shouldn't even say their names, I guess, but it doesn't matter. They were telling us a story, and we met them through a friend of ours. But they had a lot of research that they had done on this, Like I said, she's actually Mongolian, but her husband was Chinese, and their son is mixed. There's 4 kids, but the one that helps her do all this. But they don't have the freedom like we do here to go and just do whatever. They can't, so they have to be careful moving back and forth between borders. And now they're all in another country altogether. But one of the things that when we talked about and I didn't get to talk to him very long, but I got a long story about it. It was so weird to me because it was like when you started talking about what you had seen, I went back like 2 days after y'all left, and I got in touch with them, and that's when I actually spoke to them. Like I said, it wasn't a real long conversation. They may be guests on soon. I don't want to give it all away. But these golden spiders, they were like made of gold. And this is weird, when they were killed by humans, that actually dissolved into like gold. And wherever they were killed, they were made of like gold, basically, because they came from an atmosphere that was made of precious metal. And so maybe it's a myth to explain like where gold came from, but it's also because they were imbued with this special power. But one of the things that they believe, which is really bizarre, but it's kind of like there's like all these different Earths that are all bouncing off of each other in the water. Now, I've heard of this before, like the pond theory, but they do collide and then they kind of like meld together in sort of a dream-like world, dream state, whatever. You see what's like the real world, like the one that we're living in, that's not really the real world to them. The dream world is what's more real. And you can actually move around from world to world and become grounded in another reality very easily just by going to sleep. What happens though, these beings or whatever they are that make these that they actually created the world we're living in now by weaving the web and keeping the world together because they ate the foundation out from the real world. So everything is actually balanced on this web that they created. I don't know how close that mirrors your, but it also is, it's like we are just sitting, kind of like imagine if we were all just floating in a dirty dish kitchen sink.
Yeah.
And it's really only in someone else's reality that it lasts like 2 days, but for us, it's 2 billion years.
Yeah.
Floating in dirty water.
Dirty water. Yes, that's what they were telling me. Yes.
Even in the even if we can find that, we could talk about the dark murky water and the predators.
Oh yeah, we wanted to read one. We wanted to read this paragraph out of the book. Let me hold on. Gotta find it.
But this same story is told all over the world. It's in the Egyptian Dendra Zodiac, the Aztec Sunstone, the Ojibwe Sky Map, Map of the Universe, the Voynich manuscript. It's everywhere. People just haven't been taught to read hieroglyphs or ancient symbols, which we're starting a new group on October the 21st. That's for a couple of Patreon members that we're starting from the beginning. And we're also starting with this book and the Legend of Time. We're also going to be starting with Genesis and the Bible. It's like a big book group that we're starting so that we can, because our trackers now, we feel that they're so advanced that they don't need us anymore. So we're going to start another group and get them advanced so there's more knowledge being shared all over.
One of the things you were telling me, Jerry, and off air, we were talking, and you said that you guys always say goodbye to one another. Do you want to explain that? What that is? What that means?
We just did that. Well, it's something that the Warrior Society does. We have to say goodbye to each other, especially if we're doing the same things like our tracking team is. We have to tell each other goodbye because anything can happen out there, and we can't have thoughts like, "Oh, I should have told my wife this," or "I should have told my son this," or how in the movies where they'll say, "Tell my wife this" and "Tell my girlfriend this." We've done taking care of that, and now we just take care of our problem that's in front of us. We're not looking to try to help each other out there because each one of us knows that we're going to have our own battle out there. So we prepare for that. We prepare for the next stage. We trust God. And that's when we're out there. We don't have any fear because we got backup on backup on backup, and we got Jesus on backup. So we don't have fear like that. We just do what we have to take care of while it's in front of us.
And then once our battle's done, then we can help the other people around us. But each person has to be prepared for their own personal battle.
Our tracker has just one of our trackers had just left to go to what is called the murder capital of the world, to help a situation down there. And we got another tracker in the field right now, but the tracker that we said goodbye to and said our goodbyes to, they knew that we was going to have that talk one day. And so that's what we do. It's like a ceremony with our trackers. If we know that they're going into a dangerous situation, which is, all the time in the field, but if we know where they're going and when they're going and we can't go with them, we say our goodbyes. And we had our goodbye to one of our trackers who's out in the field right now. And the other people didn't understand what we was doing, but we wanted to teach them and see what we was doing. But the tracker that when we were saying goodbye, we said, we're going to relieve you of your duties as a tracker on our tracker team. You're no longer to assist us. We're severing our ties with you. Don't contact us when you've left. This is where we end our journey together. You're going to go your way. We're going to go our way. But we also asked that person to stay afterwards, because afterwards, after we said our goodbyes, then we went back and made sure that they understood that we were just saying our goodbyes. You're not off the team. When you get back, you're welcome back, your family. But we had to say goodbyes, and they thanked us for that, because they realized, because we've had this talk before of what we have to do. We have to say goodbye as warriors to each other. That they knew halfway through what we was talking about, and they started smiling because they knew that they was getting their talk. They knew they was getting their warrior goodbye talk. And afterwards, the other people who didn't understand what we was doing, they was kind of getting upset of, why are you kicking this person out? They've done nothing. They've only helped us. They're good people. Why are you kicking them out of the team? But as soon as it was over, the tracker, who had been with us for a long time, knew what we was doing. They knew we were saying goodbyes, and that's why they were smiling halfway through. And once they were done, they were so happy, and they said, "Oh my goodness, I got the talk. I got the goodbye talk. I heard about it, and you talked about it, but I never understood it until it was done to me." And so now we let them know that you don't worry about this team here. We're together. We're staying together. We're going to be okay here. You worry about your mission and what you're doing in your area, so you stay safe. Keep your toes, keep your eyes open, pay attention while you're there, and follow what has been taught to you by God. And as they have told us, that we taught them safety and what, the things to look at that no one else knows what to look for. So now they're on their mission, but they have no worries about us. They don't have to think about us. They don't have to worry about it. And they even brought that up. They were saying, "Oh, how am I going to get in contact with y'all? Because there's no internet in some places." But now they understand we don't want them to contact us till they get back. They stay on their mission. They stay focused. And we've already said our goodbyes. If something does happen, we've already said our goodbyes. And they know how we feel. We all told this person how much we love them, how much we cherish them. We reminisced with each other until it was time for them to go.
I found the paragraph that we wanted to read out of here, and we thought it was appropriate for many reasons to read it. But this is from The Legend of Time. A creature arrived from the depths of the darkness. This creature arrived communicating that it was there only to aid or to help in any way allowed. This creature helped in many ways, but was always going from place to place when in the light of life. It would always return back to the darkness. The air of the spiritual world is fresh and clean as the waters are. The creature could not breathe the fresh air, and it could only surface from time to time, which does not allow it to live as the cosmic spiritual animals.
Thank you for that donation, Kate Hunter. We appreciate that. You're always so generous and kind. Thank you for everybody who's donating. Definitely going to need it. That's the creature you're talking about refers to this cosmic spider, right?
Yes, and also it's the same pattern even for human predators, spiders.
Mm-hmm.
They hide behind the light. They're just, it's the way this is the same pattern over and over.
They can't
They
live
come out
amongst.
into the light,
Yeah.
but then they run back into the darkness, and it's same process.
Yeah. So that's probably, so when you look at this situation, like from different cultures, your culture, thousands of miles away from this, tribe, there's a ancient tribal belief that goes back, thousands of years. And then you get that some in South America who believe that too, like the Piaroa Indians. I mean, they believe that the spider, they eat tarantulas, and they eat tarantulas because they say that it gives them the power of this tarantula.
Mm-hmm.
And these giant spiders, they span the size of a dinner plate, and they are there's a documentary about it too, which is I think another weird. There's another Mandela effect hidden in that video. I used to have that video, and it was called the Fear de Lance. Now it's called the Fear de Mas. It's a snake, and I kept looking for that Fear de Lance, and when I went and I looked, it didn't exist. There was no snake called that.
I remember that. I remember that snake.
Yeah, it was called the Fear de Lance, and then it doesn't. It's
Yes.
now it's just a Fear de Mas, which is weird. Like you don't
Yep.
see anything about that snake, and in the video, it doesn't even say that anymore. It's weird. And I'm not getting off track here, but my wife has a QX80. Well, we have a QX80. We didn't really want it because we ended up with it. It's a long story, but QX80, I remember it being a QX90, and I even remember going and talking to Maurice, the guy that works at the Infinity place, and doing a test drive. And at that time, we were just dreaming. We couldn't get that, but we ended up, when I had to trade in my diesel, I had to find something about the same value, and that's what I got. And we hardly ever drive it, but the QX80, I remember, was a QX90. And me and my wife we could swear up and down that that's what it was. And now, people probably think you're crazy, but no, it was, and now it's called a QX80. There is no QX90. So I don't know. It's just a weird thing. I don't know. That Mandela effect is weird, but it could be what's happening when the worlds are colliding with these, with one another in this dirty water soup that we're living in. It is weird. I mean, it's weird to think about. And I know that particular individual was mocking your view and the spider and whatever, because that's his level of intelligence. But he's sitting there touting Native American, whatever. But then he's making fun of Jerry and his belief. So whether you believe it or you don't believe it, it is interesting though that the spider comes up in the theme in multicultural. It's multicultural. There's a lot of people who have that belief. And it plays a very prominent role. And there are even cave drawings and things like that of an M, which is basically for a spider.
Exactly.
Yeah.
M, columns, comets.
Pillars, giants, gods. They were all called that at one time.
Mm-hmm. And if it
Even
goes
just
back
the
to
term
that,
World Wide Web, all the spider references all around us. And the
web.
Bible's saying he gives us power to tread on serpents and spiders, or scorpions and spiders, which is just another form.
That's a type of arachnid. Yeah. When you go back and you look at like some of like the ancient civilizations, like when there's like it's happened over and over and over again. So there was everything was a certain way until this spider came, these cosmic spiders or comets, and when they landed, unleashing these beings, they ended up like changing and altering everything, and everything became predatory. Now I'm going to tell you folks something. one of the things that I wondered about, you know, and I've talked about this before because I've had people bring this up, but it's kind of like, how do I say this to make it like if you're looking at like creation stories, you know, and you're looking at like what people believe, how the spider, there was this predator. Before that, there was no predator. There was an alien abduction case that we covered of a guy named Zach. Was it Zach? Or we weren't supposed to say his first name.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we did. All right, whatever. Well, we said his name. Sorry, Zach. I guess we're. You know. Anyway, he's probably listening too.
His last name was Baggins. Zach Baggins.
Don't say that. I don't need to be getting in trouble with him. We got enough problems already as it is without him coming up. What's up, bro?
Yeah.
You know, I don't need that. But no, this guy's name was Zach, and he gave us this story of alien abduction. And one of the things that he was told, I believe it was his story, or no, that was the lady's story, wasn't it? No, one of them anyway. They were abducted by these aliens, and what they were told was that they were in shock that we were still eating things. We had to kill and eat things, and even plants. They didn't agree with us killing and eating anything, plants, animals, anything, and they didn't understand why we were still doing it. And it was like barbaric, you know. And so, and these were introduced to them by another species that had been coming here for a long, long time, but this species was relatively new here. And one of the things that they were surprised at is that we were still that far behind. And I thought that was interesting because to them, to that particular alien species, they don't get energy from food or whatever, or taking it from a living being. They don't have to destroy and predate on something. What do you guys think about that?
He's looking for the page.
Oh no, I'm just thinking we're getting kind of off
energy. Well, he's saying
topic
he's stealing
of
the energy.
Well, there's
I mean,
in what we would call sorcery, and these are from old, ancient stories. But I mean, it's still a little bit off topic, but it's still on topic, I guess you would say. But in the sorcery, you have to know a person to become that person. If you want to become a crow or something, you have to know all the dimensions of that crow. And in the ancient history, it talks about able to shapeshift, energy change.
Go ahead.
Did you want to add a little bit?
Just everything is energy. Absolutely everything is energy, manipulating energy. The people that are arguing about these things being, whether they're flesh and blood or whether they're spirit, there's every combination. The answer is yes. They're every combination in between. They may be fully manifested here. They know how to alter the energy, just like when you think about the pyramids, and this might sound off topic, but people are so shocked, but they move these huge things through energy, through harmonics, through manipulation,
vibration.
Yes. So it all ties into that.
The reason I don't think it was off topic, and maybe you guys don't understand what the connection I was trying to make was like what Jerry had said before to me when y'all were here, was how there was no predators at one time. They didn't exist until this invasion. And
Right.
so these alien species that were talking to this particular person, they were basically saying that they had moved beyond that. There was no more predation, whatever. I'm pretty sure I'll probably get some stories or something that'll come out of this.
We're actually all
show.
supposed to be vegetarian.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason we eat meat now is because of these catastrophes.
Mm-hmm.
And with the native tribes, we made an agreement with the animals because at that time we could speak to the animals. we could speak to the trees, and that's where all those mythical stories and the movies like Speak to the Tree and Listen to the Wind. But those are actual things that we used to do and communicate with the animals. But we lost that communication once we indulged and overtook, because after catastrophes, there was no more vegetation, especially on the east side of the world. But over here, and that's why there's different DNAs, because they went to a catastrophe and we didn't actually go through the catastrophe. We had the vegetation in the land, but in like from uh, Africa on to China and Iran and those areas, those are all sandy mountain areas. That was where the seas, when the flood happened, the splash, the water, it went all onto the land and rose and the oceans ran. But it was that side of the world that had the catastrophes. It wasn't this side of the world. Let's see.
That's what a lot of people have, and that's actually there's an Islamic belief in the Bible. The Jewish fundamental belief is that it's the Hebrew, like there was what they claim is the Hebrew, that there was the entire world was flooded, but there is no archaeological evidence to actually support an entire the world being flooded in its entirety, and in fact, those stories came from the Epic of Gilgamesh. We're pretty sure that that's where that came from, and the flood in all the other cultures, other than that one culture, does not support the entire earth being flooded. Yes, being flooded, but also being flooded more than once, like a major flood. And there is evidence to support that it was flooded, but not in its entirety. And I do believe that that is why whenever in the Bible, in the Old Testament, when Caleb and Joshua, when they went and they sent spies into the land of Canaan and they saw grapes that were the size of how big they were, like a clump of grapes.
Mm-hmm.
And they were being carried by giants. If the flood was done in its entirety, they wouldn't have saw that.
Right.
They wouldn't
that's
have
right.
seen that. So there is a lot. And I argued with this guy on his own show. And then after we did the show, I told him, don't put me on your show. We'll have problems if you put me on there, because all we did was argue. That was about 3 years ago. He's somebody that people know too. He's just a big turd. But I mean, I basically just told him, I'm not going to say his name on here, but I told him, I said, don't do that, because he kept arguing with me about things biblically and everything he said was incorrect. And I was like, dude, I'm not going to be on here arguing with a buffoon. So I said, look, dude, we'll agree to disagree, but I'm not giving you permission to use me on there. And, so it went sideways. One of only 2 interviews I ever backed out of or stopped in the middle of. And I explained to him and over again, I said, look, dude, the flood was not an entire thing. He's like, God doesn't make mistakes. And I'm like, okay, well, there's different versions of this, and there's different versions of what God did and what happened. And I'm just telling you that you're choosing one narrow path from one type of Bible out of hundreds, and you're saying that one story is correct, when there is no evidence at all to support that, none whatsoever. But there is evidence support of a flood, but not what he was saying. In the East, like you were saying, that is where a lot of things went down. And so we get a lot of our stories and everything from there, because that's where a lot of this ended up happening. And so when and of course, you have the whole thing with Christ, and when he came and he died on the cross, what ended up happening. When you read the Epic of Gilgamesh, if anybody ever decides to do that, it could teach you a lot of things. It's just it's myth, they say, but there again, there's some truth there. The best you could hope for at death was to sit at a table with your friends and eat ash, and at worst, you went to hell. So that was like the best you could hope for. So people were literally just sort of in a purgatory. There was no real chance to go to heaven, because heaven at that time wasn't what we think it is now. And I'm not even going to get into that, because that will just be way too much and we'll be moving too fast, because this show has an overarching theme that, and we're not there yet. But what ends up happening is God, the true living God, sends Jesus, and he fixes things, and he even goes to hell for 3 days and just takes the keys of life and death, and he frees people. Some people have asked me, why would Jesus go to hell and free people? Because if people are in hell, they're there for a reason. Well, that's because hell is not permanent. Permanent in the way that the words are translated to a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
There is no real word for forever and ever and ever. You know, it's just for a long time. Just like 40 days and 40 nights is actually just a really long time.
Yeah.
And that's the translations. I mean, it's hard to translate these other languages, but in the Quran too, it talks about the flood was not global. It was localized in different areas, and the water was, you know, and it was in predominantly these areas where the Nephilim were inhabiting, but some of them lived. Not all of them died. There were some that had favor with God, according to different versions of the stories. So, you know, you can argue back and forth however you want. But I have a question for you. When you were talking about this, and you guys are of Christian base, you know, when you talk about this creation, so how far back, how long ago did this spider thing happen in your belief?
Well, this is it's also like Genesis, only told in like a Native American way.
Mm-hmm.
But going back, the spider was before all the little scorpions and centipedes. It was before the dinosaurs. And we're talking giant spiders. We're not talking what people would think. So they have that spider giant DNA. So this is where the dinosaurs came from. The T-Rex is more like a ram with the tail of a serpent, skin of the serpent, the claws of the predator, the giant DNA. Every one of those animals came from another animal, but changed, then put giant DNA into it. It was before the Ice Age. That piercing where the water come from mixed with our perfect weather, and that is cold, murky, dark water that came in, which caused and created or formed the oceans and seas, because we only had fresh water before that. But when that cold, dark, murky water entered our perfect area, that mixture caused the Ice Age. And we're told in our ancient history that it was like glaciers of ice was falling from the sky, not just the rain or not just the water, but that mixture was causing glaciers and snow, and everything changed after that. And that's whenever the dinosaurs started forming, everything.
And a lot of these changes that have made that we've been told were over millions of years, a lot of these catastrophes happened instantly.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody would go back and check, they'll see that the spider age came before the dinosaur age.
Well, there have been multiple. I mean, like, it's just cyclical. It goes over and over and over again. So yeah, the different time periods, and now they found like woolly mammoths that were flash frozen, like they were just
Exactly.
instantaneously. You know, they don't
Yep.
know how that
And
could happen.
petrification also.
Yeah, they don't know how it happened. I mean, but they can. It's funny when people say, "Well, I believe in science." Well, you're believing in something very incomplete, sir.
Yeah.
You know, here's one thing though, and I've read all these different types of books, and folks, don't, before you start going, Josh Turner believes all this crazy stuff, blah blah blah. I'm able to read people's books. I'm able to read and listen to people's opinions, and I'm able to read myth and legends and all these different types of books and not necessarily buy everything that the person or persons are saying. But it is interesting because there is somewhere in there is the truth with all these different stories. Now, I've read the Kabbalah. I haven't read the whole thing in a long, long time, but it's the book of Jewish mysticism. Just like there's hadiths within, and there's books of biblical mysticism like the Gnostics. Most of the canon, like, it's not going to be canon in those religions because they don't look at those books as part and parcel of what they're doing, what they believe. But they are interesting. There's a lot of esotericism in those hadiths of the Islam, and in the Gnostics of Christianity, and in the Kabbalah of the Judaism. Now, when I read the Kabbalah, one of the things that I talked about, I think it was when David was on the show, David Weatherly. We talked about the Kabbalah and how these beings, it said that basically demons or dibuk are compressed beings. They were compressed. Like something happened and they were crushed. And they come from another world. Their world was destroyed. But now, when you take the biblical Hebraic translation of that, though, you actually come up with not necessarily like what you would think. It's not like they were from another world, like another universe. It's like basically saying like a time. The way I took the translation was like a time before ours. Before the world as we know it, they existed and they were destroyed, becoming spirits and having like this spiritual habitation. But then it gets really convoluted because then you get into archons, and there was an archon invasion. Now, that's what's really weird to me. That part right there kind of always stunned me, because I'm like, archon invasion? Like, what is that? Now, if you go to the Sumerian tablets, there is an invasion of reptilian entities, which is really bizarre, during Marduk's reign, which was Tiamat. That was, according to Sumerians, that was her son, and he fought a war with her after he killed his dad, because his dad was evil, and she was mad, wanted revenge, so she created all these creatures, and there was a big war, and then, eventually he won. And during his marriage, there was like this invasion, like a sneak attack. But what's weird is we don't know exactly what the archons are per se. Every religion has a different view of what they are. I know that I can't look. You might want to look this up, and I just had it in my head. Like, Jesus tells his brother James, yes, he had a brother. He was the oldest of several children.
Oh, yeah. Are you talking about in the Apocalypse of John?
Read what he says. He says, you must flee Jerusalem, for it is full of archons. He's basically warning his brother to leave Jerusalem, that is unholy, which we revere Jerusalem as this holy, holy city. But it's constantly under siege and warfare and in violence, and there's constant bloodshed, and that is because it is under siege by the archons. What the archons are, we're not sure, because everybody has a different version of what they are. Some say they are the rebellious angels. Some say they are the fallen angels. Some say they're these giant spiders that landed and did whatever they did. Some even compare them to like a pack of wolves that showed up. It's spiritual, whatever. But when
that's exactly why we say they're all going to have different names.
Yeah.
Like the people trying to put them in a box, they're calling them different things. So we put them in a box of predators. We put them in a much larger box. They're either a godly creation or they're predators.
Because there were no predators before. Go ahead.
I was going to say, even on page 43, where we talk about the Legend of Time, like when we're talking about archons and Marduk and Atlantis and Egyptians and all that, that's recent history.
Recent history, yeah. Compared to what you're talking about, it's millions of years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this predator formed when the spider got here, but it wasn't man-like at that time. It was flat and without a solid figure. It was just like a black goo that was traveling around and eating things,
black goo,
and consuming things, and that still happens. But at that time, it didn't eat the man yet. But when it started eating man, it started forming and started. Yeah, it's little by little. But when it came to us onto this side of the world, we call it the arrival of evil, and that it's a cannibal and has a bite like fire. And that was passed down from eyewitnesses at that time. It wasn't a story that was told somewhere else. It's from the tribe saying, this is what happened. This is what came. And we share those stories.
And this is what they're trying to warn people about in the old cave paintings. And
we've been trying to warn people for millions of years.
It's not just storybooks,
Yeah, and people like to take things and say, well, this doesn't fit into my view of what I want things to be, so I'm just going to throw it out. And there are other YouTubers that do that, and I don't even know why that they'll bring people on their show just so they can humiliate them or argue with them or belittle their views and whatever. I don't do that. If I don't believe in everything that someone's saying, I at least give them the benefit of the doubt and and let them say their piece. 100% I don't believe or agree with everything you're saying, but my views are ever evolving and changing because as you gain more knowledge, which is how you're supposed to be, you're supposed to change. What's happening though, folks, and not to get on my soapbox here, but what's happening in this community and all these other communities, people are looking for the truth. What's happening is people are stagnating and they're becoming willfully ignorant, and they sit there with their little potato head and their squishy heads and their little beady eyes and their goofy glasses, and they just sit there and they have guests on that they don't even like, and then they humiliate them and argue with them and do whatever. And that's ridiculous. You should not do that. Why have a show if you're going to have people on there that you don't like, that you're not going to agree with? Why not just live in an echo chamber and march on a bunch of people who believe that everything is the way you believe?
It's a form of intellectual insecurity.
Yeah, it is.
Because you're afraid that someone is going to present an idea which is opposing to yours, and they will do so in a way that will make it too difficult for you to defend your own idea against theirs. But what they don't understand is that you're not arguing. You're exchanging ideas and trying to understand what someone else believes. And then once you do that, if you do it right, if you're able to work through that process mentally, you can either change your mind and believe a little bit like the other person believes because you've done the footwork, or you will end up debunking that belief and it will only serve to strengthen your own belief. But either way, there should be a respectful exchange of information there from which both people benefit.
Yeah. Brett Loeffner says it's called learning. And then he said expanding our own narrow linear perspective. Go ahead, Jerry.
Whenever I would return back to my hometown, I'd always tell people it's like stepping back in time.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone here had the same music as when I left in high school. The same things in the newspaper.
Still do.
I tried to bring information to the newspaper because my friend was an editor at that time, and he told me we can't have outside information. We can only give local information because that would interfere with what the city wants.
Mm-hmm.
And like we were saying, if we were to stayed here, we wouldn't have the information we crawled in caves and pyramids and talked to all the elders, different tribes around the world, to Honduras, El Salvador, the Hawaiian Kingdom, up in Canada. And we had more information than everybody, but they had bits and pieces. And so we put all that together and then just shared all the information to everybody, but correctly.
You put it really well the other day, Josh, when you, for those that need a visual, you stepped up to a TV screen and you put your hands in a small circle and you said, there are people that only have this much of a view, but if they step back, then now they know that this is their reality. They've got a bigger reality, and then they step back further and they've got a bigger picture and a bigger picture. And it's like that. The ones with that little tiny 4-inch view in the corner are just stuck right there, and they can't process anything bigger than that. They don't even know. They resist anything bigger than that. It scares them. So
yeah,
we also say that the information that people have is like an island. They're on that island. That's all they know. They don't have what's out here, what we're trying to share to that island.
I think one of the things that we're missing too is when people, and like I said this before, and you're native, Jerry, I got native blood in me, but I don't go around, I'm Native American. Some people love to just throw that out there.
flashing your nasty old booger covered card.
I have 7 of those. One for every day of the
And
week.
besides that, we had seen a picture of that, and that's actually an outdated card. It's not even valid.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to get
Nothing
into
you
that
would
right now,
carry
but
with pride.
we'll put it this way: I don't go around touting my quarter Native American whatever, because to me that's offensive to sit there and say, well, I'm sorry, and argue with somebody who's full blooded Native. Like, it's not impressive, so I'm not going to sit there and do that. But one of the things I know though is that every Native culture has a belief, a myth, a legend, or whatever you want to call it. And a lot of them are very similar. And then they're very similar to the Viking view. And now we know that the Vikings did come way before Columbus, and they actually spent a lot of time with the natives. And it's funny because the Cherokee may have been one of the tribes that they interacted with. And I find it odd that they, for whatever reason, everybody claims that one. Like, they claim Cherokee. Like, I've never met a person who didn't, even black, white, Hispanic. I mean, like, I had a guy the other day at the gym. I mean, he was a nice guy, and we were talking, and he asked me for a spot. And he didn't look remotely Native, but when I asked him, when we started talking about my show and everything else, he asked me if I was into Native beliefs and cultures and all this stuff. And then he told me that he was full-blooded Cherokee, and I was like, I wasn't trying to be talking about right.
Yeah.
The guy's name was Danny. He's a nice guy, and I thought he was pulling my leg, and I was like, Danny, you're obviously African-American. He goes, yeah, but just, I'm more Native than I am African-American. And I was like, well, you really look full-blooded Native American, African-American. And me and Anthony were at the 7-Eleven. Not 10 minutes later, we were talking to this guy, and he was talking to the clerk about coast to coast. And Anthony was like, he goes, well, if you like that, here's our show. And he goes, oh, cool. He goes, yeah, my parents are Cherokee. And I look at Anthony and I started laughing. I was like, did we just have like a black dude tell us at the gym that he was full-blooded Cherokee, and now this guy's telling a white guy, blonde hair? Yeah. I mean, not blonde hair, but dirty blonde, I guess, right? Was it brown, light brown?
Yeah, it's like dirty blonde, yeah.
And blue eyes, and he was telling us he was Cherokee, and I got in the truck with Anthony, and I was like, dude, is everybody everywhere Cherokee? Because that seems to be their go-to, like whenever somebody tells me that.
Yeah, I know why that is. It's because of Jeep. That's it. I mean, Jeep came out with the Grand Cherokee, so everyone knows that word, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm Native. What am I? I'm Jeep Grand Cherokee. I mean, I'm Cherokee.
Jeep Grand Cherokee.
And most people know how to spell it.
Spell it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, based on that logic, I guess I'm one of the Mohicans since I saw Last of the Mohicans.
Yeah, you saw Last of the Mohicans.
Well, I'm one of the last, yeah. So I guess we're just...
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad because people are going around claiming this. And I remember, and Scorpion made a joke. We were at the Choctaw Casino. I love to go up there whenever I get a chance. And we got to know one of the security there, and we were talking to him. And Scorpion made a stupid comment because I was like, dude, we were at the Choctaw Casino, and I am putting you on blast here. He's probably watching cringing, but he's like, he kind of was rude to the guy. He goes, let me guess, you're Cherokee. And the guy goes, no, I'm Choctaw. and I nudged him, and I was like, dude, because he did the same thing in Ridoso when we were at the Mescalera. He's over there telling him, he's Comanche. And the guy immediately took the discount away. He was like, yeah, well.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Because the Mescalera were genocided by my people. And I said, look, that was a long time ago. We're all friends now, and I'm barely even remember those people. I'm like, my grandmother been dead a long time, man.
My white side did a lot more damage to y'all.
I was like, I didn't know what to say. And then we're walking off, and I'm like, dude, why would you say that? Like, why would you say that?
Scorpion.
Literally, Scorpion is part Navajo. Yeah. Like, his mother's half Navajo.
He'll gladly bring that up to the wrong people, too.
Yeah, he'll do that, too. But, I mean, I'm like, dude, yeah, like the Utes. Yeah, we're in Utah. Hey, I'm Navajo. Blah, 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 blah. And they're like, oh, we can tell. Yeah, go away. They don't all get along, and not everybody's going to be accepting of your bullcrap.
There's a lot of history there.
There's a lot of history there, yeah.
I was talking with Vault this afternoon, and he was talking about the reservations and things like that. And I said, yeah, I said, I got, basically I'm telling him I got long hair and brown skin, and everybody knows who I am. But even when I first started going onto the reservation, I was fighting almost every other weekend, or, people trying to jump you, even if, you go someplace So it's a different society, and people don't just walk into a society, and especially if you're gonna flash a card or something like that. We don't flash cards.
Yeah,
We
you
don't
just
even talk
know.
about
It's a
cards.
community, so
No.
someone in the community will know.
That's how you are, Tony.
I was just going to
Vietnamese,
say,
yeah.
it's just like it's kind of the same with Asians, but I was also thinking, it's the same with all animals. Like, I'm not going to be a cat with 2% dog and go hang out with dogs and think it's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just basically the same thing. You can't just have this little bit amount in you and be like, yeah, that makes me the entire thing.
What about that lady at Costco who didn't believe you?
Yeah,
I told her that he was Vietnamese. She goes, "No, you're not." And she was like looking at Tony like she wanted to smack him, but then he started rolling off Vietnamese, and then she was like, "Oh," and then he told her, he's like, "Yeah, I'm Vietnamese because." And then there's a story that Tony tells about when he went to camp.
Yeah, well, it was. I went to a Buddhist temple, which what they did was they kind of had like a camp for the kids and stuff like that. They could come hang out at the temple and spend like a month there. But when I got there, I kind of felt like really segregated, and I'm like, this feels weird because like there's a white guy over there, and I feel like he's getting talked to more than everyone else. So I started listening in, and like I started noticing that they would speak Vietnamese, and they'd be like, "What is this Mexican kid doing here?" So then I would go around and be like, "I know what you're saying. I can hear you. I understand what you're saying.
Oh, no.
I might not be able to speak Vietnamese back to you, but I know that you're calling me Mexican." So that was my experience around Vietnamese people. Is just that I don't have enough Vietnamese in me to look at because I'm too tall for them.
Yeah, where we used to live at.
Even when we go to our ceremonies, if you don't just flat out look Indian, you got to have somebody to vouch for you, or they'll say, "Do you got a card?" And if they pull up something dirty like that, they'll say, "This is no good. We want to see a brand new one. We want." That can be manufactured, that can be passed down, but that some of these ceremonies you have to prove, you're of at least half.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Which
And
is
the
why
newer
I don't
cards,
go
the modern
around.
cards have a barcode.
Yeah. I don't go around saying that I'm, hey, I'm Comanche. Like that's so what. There was a guy that came up from. He was Kickapoo, and he came up from. There was a powwow down in the valley, and I was working at Cabela's, and I've told this story on the show. I'm not going to get into it, but I believe he may have been a type of skinwalker. Like the name I know is a Navajo term, whatever, but he did something weird because he wasn't in his truck, and I saw a coyote running around, and I thought I saw a dude with no clothes running behind me. I didn't know what it was. I still to this day don't know what that was. I don't really claim it because I don't know I don't know what that was. It was weird. But when he pulled up next to me and started talking to me, I mean, he was native, obviously, and when he was Lapan, sorry, and he went to a powwow down in South Texas, and when we started talking, he mentioned something about being Native American. I didn't go, "Oh yeah, me too," like whatever. I just kept eating my dinner and was like, "Okay, well, I'm very proud of you. Congratulations," like whatever. I wasn't like some people. They're just like, and then they immediately want to go to the Comanche or the Cherokee thing. Like everybody's Cherokee, and I'm just like, whatever. I don't know. It gets old after a while. Every person you run into is a Cherokee, and if you would let them tell it, there's like 38 million Cherokee in this country. I mean, they'd be the largest tribe on earth. I mean, come on.
We was also talking that even though you may have gotten into the ceremony, or maybe you've gotten onto the reservation through a person, like if it was me, there was a person who came in one time who I let come in with me, but they were supposed to stay where I'm at, but there was an artist who was selling some paintings and they knew it. So they asked if they could go over there. I called them, set it up. I said, "Yeah, you can go over there and buy whatever art you want, then come back." And so I did my thing. And next thing I know, it's dark time. This person hasn't come back. They're at other artists, which is okay for the artist. They don't know what's going on. This person is saying, "I'm here with Jerry," or at that time it was Lead Horse. I mean, it still is, but in this society. But I went to bed, locked the door, and they came and knocked on the door afterwards, and they had to find another place to sleep that night because I wasn't going to open the door. And then another friend called because they were over at their house. They called me and said, "Well, I got your friend over here." So I said, "All right, we'll put him on the phone. Let me talk to him." They got on the phone and they said, "Well, you locked the door." I said, "Well, I told you you could only go to this one spot. Now I got all these people calling me because I vouched for you. You're on my name. You can't just run around just because you got in or came to a ceremony. You can't just run around because that falls on that person. But also, if these people cause any problems, we can't defend that person because they're not where they're supposed to be. It's not like you get a free pass or anything just because you come in with somebody. That falls on that person's name, and that would get me into a fight too. I couldn't even lift a finger to help this person, even if they were getting jumped, because if I help out, I get jumped too because that person did not follow protocols staying with that person. It's not a free reign if we let someone in or go to a ceremony. That person has to stay with that person at all times. You can't just run around.
Oh yeah,
It's
I
not.
know.
It's like letting you in the foyer, but you go rooting through the master bedroom.
Exactly. Yeah, my best friend who died in 2011, his son Alec is my godson. His mother was Algonquin, and so he was like a half, and me and him got along really good. But man, he walked very much like a native, and you look at him and just tell he was half. You could just tell. Like some people can tell I am, some people can't. Some people can tell. You can just look at somebody, but he was very much like native, and like he liked to climb all over things. Man, he could climb up a wall and be on the roof, and it was crazy. And I know because of that Algonquin blood and a lot of those hills and rocks and everything that it was just a natural thing. And I remember him getting into it with another guy that worked there who was actually a type of Apache, Mescalero Apache, and they got into a big old fight, and everybody was like in shock. Like this guy that worked with me, Dante, he was all like, "Why are they fighting? They're both native." I'm like, "Dude, that doesn't matter. Like what? Like Rogers is Algonquin, and this dude's not. I mean, these are two different parts of the world, And then there again, there was a guy that used to work for us. His name was Philip, and he was full-blooded Chippewa. And my friend's mother was, well, it was, I guess it'd be my friend Squid's ex-wife, Shonda. Her mother's full-blooded Menominee. And when they started talking, I mean, they weren't friends. It wasn't like him and her got into it, but their people were not like close. They're not like friends, whatever. And just like the Arapaho, because they forced people to live together that used to not really live together, and they did the same thing in other countries. Like when they would make these maps, they didn't look at tribal land and who belonged where and what, and they would just give people land and then the other tribes going like, "Hey, look how you made this," like the Wind River Reservation. Like there's the Shoshone on one side and the Arapaho on the other, and there's conflict. I know because my cousin went out with a Shoshone woman and he lived up there with them for 4 years. And he's been on the show and there's conflict. I mean, it happens, And the legends and stories are very similar, but a lot of times just having a common belief isn't enough to make you not have clashes. I mean, if you go to Mexico, there are literally different types of native from Mexico, like the Yaqui, and there's all kinds of different, they don't all get along. I mean, you go to different areas of Mexico, and there's the Tabascan on the coast, the Tlaxcalans, and you had the descendants of the Zapotec, the Mixtec, you had the Yaqui, you had all these different types of Indian, or Indios, as they say in Spanish, and then they didn't necessarily all get along. It wasn't the Smurf village all the time. They weren't buddies, and so that was why there was so much fighting. And people were like, "Oh, well, you're native. You're all just going to get along, and we're just going to sing Kumbaya." That's not how that works. So, yeah, I totally get that. And just because you can speak a common language with someone doesn't mean they're going to like you either. And another thing I learned when I was young is Guatemalans and Mexicans don't get along very well either. I figured that one out pretty quick when I was working on a job site, and they got into a big fight between the Mexicans and the Guatemalans. And then most recently when we were in San Marcos, doing a job site, my guard got assaulted because they were Hondurans. The Hondurans got into a fight with the Mexicans. The Mexicans are now kind of like their foremans, and they got into a fight, because the Hondurans didn't like taking orders from the Mexicans. And so now, but these ignorant people, they're like, well, shouldn't they all be getting along? They're all speaking Spanish. I'm like, no, because that's not how the world works,
There's a lot of tribes I don't get along with. There may be there's a handful of Lakota that I like. The rest of them I don't care for. There's probably a handful of Cherokee. Rest of them, I mean, Eastern Band, not the ones in Oklahoma. They don't have the tradition that the Eastern Band does. The ones here are still trying to learn, and this certain individual is even further back than the ones trying to learn.
Yeah.
The Eastern one still has the ceremonies, traditions, and the culture. And those are the ones I know. And I'm the only Choctaw that I know of that's invited to play in their war games every year. Yeah. The only one that I can think of.
Now, and you're up for tribal chief, aren't you?
Yeah, that's a little bit later. But everything that I do, one of the leaders in our war games also here. I teach how to play this to win. The only reason we haven't been winning is because they have other people teaching them. Mm-hmm. They don't know the game. Even even some of the Oklahoma Choctaws don't know the traditions of the Mississippi Choctaws. So it's not like, they should get along, but they don't, because one knows more than the other, and they don't want to give either way. And I'm kind of like in between, because I'm Oklahoma and Mississippi Choctaw, but my bloodlines are from Alabama, Coushatta, and there's a tribe down there, Coushatta, also. But those are my bloodlines, so I'm mixed with all of them and Oklahoma. So they all know me. I'm very good friends with the chief in Mississippi. We played on the same stickball team years ago. So I'm always either teaching the ceremonies or helping out with their ceremonies or their healing ceremonies. But it's you can't just walk into a place and be called Indian, I guess you would say.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Coushatta, they were actually in Louisiana too.
Yeah.
Not just in Mississippi.
And Texas.
And in all the way to East Texas, yeah. But and then of course to the north there were the Kiowa, they were very savage. They were one of the only tribes that were friendly with the Comanche. The Comanche were very hard on everybody else. They made a lot of enemies, Well, the Choctaw, I think the things that they did were tame compared to the Comanche. Some of the things I've read and studied on the Comanche were just brutal, like really bad, brutal, like killing, Chinese railroad workers just for their quay, their hair, or killing African Americans for their hair because they thought it was like buffalo hair. They did some pretty brutal things, and they didn't have a lot of ceremony. They didn't have a lot of tradition. They didn't have totems. They were very nomadic. They would stay within like a 400 square mile radius, but they would just kind of travel around, and they weren't kind to anyone they found hanging out in Comancheria. That could be anyone. And that the term Apache is actually their word that means like enemy. So you could have been a white man and been an Apache to them. That's why it is very offensive, folks, to actually call an Apache, because that's not what they call themselves. The Mescaleros say we're Mescalero.
For the Choctaws, we'll say the word as white man, mm-hmm. and that means a greedy person. It's not, and that's an insult. You call another Indian that, and it's on. You're getting into a fight with them.
Yeah,
that's the one that gets everybody.
But Yangeese was the name that they used in the Northeast, because my friend Roger's mother would call them young geese, which is the word Yankee is young geese. It's Algonquin, Delaware, Ottawa, and the what's it called? The Mohawk, and then there's another tribe, the Iroquois. They all shared that word, young geese, which means like the English when they came, the English, young geese. So just translated.
It's funny.
But it became Yankee.
I think the Chinese had one called like Wilo, means white devil.
Wilo.
The Mohawk people we was talking with Vault today. The Mohawk people actually wrote a letter from all 5 chiefs to evict me from the reservation.
Oh my gosh.
I'm the only one
You're
that got an
proud of that.
eviction notice.
You're
You
So
got
I'm
an
proud of that
eviction
one.
notice.
The Mohawks said they didn't. They weren't up to caliber, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
They didn't like my tactics.
When you went down to Honduras, you were in Honduras, right, at one time?
Oh yeah, very good friends of Berta Cáceres, but she was murdered a couple years back. But I'm still good, very friends with Coping and her daughter, which is Bertha Cáceres, and she is now the Linca leader of Honduras, of the tribe that I was with.
These
So yo habla español.
But these natives that you encountered down there, like we were talking about the Piaroa earlier, and their reverence of the spider, and how they have creation myths that they believe in. But these people that you dealt with, and other like native tribes people, have you ever thought about going somewhere like to interact with the Berber? Because I know some Berber, people. If you were ever interested in going to the Levant to learn about their cultures, or going to Australia. I don't know. Have you thought about that? Talking with the Aboriginals, or maybe some of the New Zealand Maoris? I have a friend who's a Maori, used to be a rugby player. Might be interesting. He was a kickboxer for years. I mean, I think it would be interesting for you to meet some of these natives and get their stories, because they have some really interesting creation stories. I thought about it, and I'm gonna ask you this on air in front of everybody. I was thinking if maybe you wanted to do a project with me about maybe writing a book, and just we could both do our research kind of independently, but then we could put it together and write a book and we could pick several different native tribes of North American native, but also South American native. Native as like the Middle Eastern Levant native, which are Berber, and then of course maybe some of the Maori legends, and then the Aboriginal legends of the Australians, and just put it together of the creation myths of each one, or even like the Mongolian Chinese, which is like they have sort of their own belief, and you could just put it together in a book. And I know that you would be the person to talk to. You've traveled all over and dealt with all these different types of tribes, and I think it would be something to look into. Let me know if you are interested, because I definitely am interested in projects like that.
That would be good, but I would have to ask if they read this book first.
No, we can't do that. We got to do mine first. We're doing mine. This is my project. We're doing my project.
It's all about us.
Why do you always get to make it about you?
Stop being selfish.
Just
Think about
you're the guest,
You're being a greedy white man.
yeah.
But I was saying that this information is written by a Choctaw elder medicine man, as people would say, the Indian people of the Americas, who has more information than all the other tribes and compiled it. If you go to any other tribe, if they haven't read this book, then they don't know what they're talking about. I've had to correct a lot of medicine people, a lot of warrior societies. I had to give them the correct information. Even though their stories were correct, they didn't know what the stories were about. Like the Navajo with the World Wide Web, and that the spider will cover the earth one day, and that will be the end. They think of it metaphorically instead of it's real.
No, it is. Yeah, that's real. No, they're not writing metaphorically. And when the Scandinavian, the Northern Europeans, which would be the Norwegians, the Danish, and the Swedish, the Viking people, basically, when they told the story of the last thing that would be living on Earth would just be a wolf. I mean, that's what they meant, which was Fenrir. There was no that's the actual what they believe. They believe that this giant wolf is going to engulf the Earth. And it all begins with him being loosed, and then Surtur and all this other stuff happens. But that is very, very, very powerful. Like within the mindset of a lot of these natives, they believe a lot of this stuff, but each subsequent generation loses a little bit. It just keeps losing a little bit, and it's losing it to technology, aka the World Wide Web, which keeps taking bits and pieces away from us and saying, well, this isn't true. This isn't true. Let's take this out of the Bible. Let's take this out of this book. Let's take that, and let's just change it all until it fits to what we want it to fit, and then you're ignorant. That's what they're doing, you know. Phil Stern says Ragnarok. Yep, exactly. What do you think is the end? Like, do you like you were talking about the Navajo? What do you believe as a Choctaw medicine man? What do you believe is the end?
The end is a lot of us standing together in a world full of deceased predators. That's not the prophecy that other people have placed before us. The only reason the other prophecies of the end game, the last man standing, is there is because we're not supposed to know what's in this book.
When it says the lion will lay down with the lamb, which has been changed now, and I know it used to say lion, lamb. I mean, that's another Mandela effect.
The wolf.
The wolf, yeah, it's the wolf now will lie down with the lamb. It's basically saying that is the end of predation. Like, I've had people ask me if what does that mean, and then I had somebody kind of interject and say, well, it doesn't really mean, it's metaphorical. It means that there won't be any more war. And I said, no, that's not true. That is part of it, yes, but it's bigger than that. Like I was talking about the TV and how you have to expand your mind, expand your vision. It is beyond that. It goes well beyond that. It is the end of predation, because predation was never supposed to happen, because like you were saying, that the world was a certain way and the predator came and fell into this world, and then, it did what it did. Now, whether you believe or you don't believe, folks, that's up to you, the audience, to decide what you want to believe. But I really strongly suggest you look at every angle and go back to some of these legends and stories. Even if it's not something that you believe in, it is very entertaining, and I recommend Jerry and Ella's book, the Predator, Bigfoot, and the Spiritual Warrior's Path. It's entertaining. If nothing else, you'll be entertained by it, even if you don't believe it. Although this is the Choctaw creation belief. And is there anything else you guys want to do to close? Do you want to close with anything?
Well, we would say it's not just about the creation. This book is also about exactly what to look for to keep them out of your house, off of your property. I mean, there's a lot of technical information where the ambush spots are, what to look for, when to look for it. It's a comprehensive book of everything you need to know about the predator Bigfoots and the predator Bigfoot hybrids and how to avoid them.
Yeah, we didn't
keep
really
them off your property.
We didn't really go over the book, but if it's not too much time, we'd like to just kind of read off the table of contents so that people understand what's in the book and what they'll be learning.
Would that be okay?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
No, hell no.
Oh, you guys got vetoed.
Read straight down the table of contents.
Tell you ain't doing none of that stuff.
Predator Bigfoot and the Spiritual Warrior's Path. We've got the background on each of us, the trackers, education and outreach effort, the legend of time, intro to the predator Bigfoot, appearance, preferred habitat, biology, diet, tools and weapons, social structure, types, thunder and lightning, water spirits, dew, fog, snow, mist. And by those, we do not mean in the normal, natural way. We're talking as they are applied to the Bigfoots and how they use them for their camouflage and to do the destruction that they do. We talk about the West Side killers, also known as the blind side, the death side, the left side. That's all part of it in the book. That's the side they're most likely to attack from. Talk about the communication, the other names, historical accounts of predator Bigfoots. We go through several of those. Why there is cause for concern immediately right now. It's not that they're coming, it's that they're here. and that there is an end game plan. They will be released at some point. Once the great restrainer is lifted, these are part of the beasts of the field.
Yep.
And the things that will cause men's hearts to fail them for fear of what's coming on the earth. We also have about national parks, which are, by the way, run by the UN. They're not even American. If they got a brown sign, they're run by the UN. Search assistance, the spiritual warrior's path knowledge, bird language, mimicking, vocalizations, gestures, shadow language, translucent viewing. We teach you how to see them when they are cloaked. Body's natural warning signs, tracking and reading signs, structures, ambush areas and bows, pull downs, blinds and hides, chutes, corrals, and funnels. These were the kinds of things that they had around my grandson's play area. Creeks and other bodies of water. We cannot stress that enough, how dangerous these things are around those areas. And y'all talk to Tracker C, you know exactly why. Drop and pops, land spikes, spears, and other weapons, road traps, bridges, embankments, and ravines, holes, tunnels, crevices, and caves. The predator Bigfoot path, they have their own kind of path through the woods. It runs diagonally. It doesn't run with the normal game paths or human paths. Game trails, tree breaks, X's, rooms and walls, springbacks, tree line skirting, twists, physical protection, protection for yourself, loved ones, animal companions, and livestock, for your property, while in your vehicle, in the woods, isolated areas, or at rural mailboxes, on or near bodies of water, seasonal considerations, things like solstices and equinoxes matter to these predators. Those are high power days, and they matter. In fact, right now we're leading up to Halloween, and then Day of the Dead. Every bit of this time is a time for more abductions and more blood sacrifices, and it's being hidden. Let's see, into the, where am I? The power of prayer, the full armor of God, the mind protection technique. This is for the people that are getting mind speak. Never acceptable, never desirable, any more than to have a demon talking in your mind. We teach how to protect from that. Indicators of threshold breaks and the possible points of entry. And we're talking about your spirit body, your house. There's all different kinds of thresholds. We break that down. We talk about ways that demons and predator Bigfoots attain ascent through open thresholds, how we let them in. And we're talking
Not
about,
us.
well, yes, how people let them in. We're talking about spiritual predators, physical predators, and the entire gamut in between. Investigations and case studies from the states like Alabama, Louisiana, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Texas. We've also tracked in Colorado. I don't think we put that in there. Educational resources. We refer to our Bigfoot documentary, YouTube channels, Facebook groups, and then we have illustrations of their structures and their signs, hand-drawn illustrations, so that you can just look at this picture, look out at your yard. We tell you exactly where to look. We tell you exactly what to do about it when you see these blinds out there. One of the largest structures we found is right outside a daycare and a senior citizen center and a local walking track. And there's blinds with these bones all in it. We've got clips in the documentary and photos, but this huge structure is right. You could hear the kids playing right there, that kind of thing. So our main goal is to keep people safe.
Well, my main goal
prepare
is
them.
entertainment. I want them to be out there giving them donuts and candy. What do you think about that
Right.
for Halloween? You think we should be out there maybe feeding the Bigfoot so they can enjoy?
Yeah.
There's going to be some missing people and missing
There
kids
will.
during this one
There
for sure.
absolutely
That
will.
happens every
Too many
October.
out
Let me
there.
tell you something else. Dude, years ago, me and my brother, we did this map and we made this like, and like I told you, Jerry and Ella, both of you guys, when y'all were visiting, how I got started with all this. It was me and my brother and my friend, and we made this map. And when you look at the number of reports, October through December is when it happens. Fall is the
Yep.
main time. I don't know why that is. Other
Also,
than, go ahead, Jerry.
also, during the first frost or the first snow, they gather food. This is their harvest time. They're stripping gardens. They're taking outside pets. They're taking anything that is not guarded, people included, kids included. They do this. That's why we have it in the book of seasonal things, because they are seasonal too. They know their rounds. They know where to go. They know where the food is.
They know to store up their food before first frost. That's a particularly dangerous time.
It's dangerous also for them because they will leave tracks. They don't want to do that, so they're going to take people before that snow comes out, so they don't have to show their tracks, and they can eat, at least a month or two in there.
We want people to know that they do wear clothes. We want people to know that they'll put on a hoodie or a trench coat or a blanket, or the dress. You might see the lady in white at the edge of the woods. You hear about that with the white gown. And I'm not talking about the fake Photoshop pictures that other nefarious YouTubers put up. I'm talking about the stories about the hair is all hanging down in the face and there's just a gown in front of them. Well, this is them trying to lure people into the woods. As you go closer, they move back, just like the orbs. They're trying to draw you into the woods. We want people to know that they will use, and yes, we have pictures. We want people to know that they will use puppies. They really like using puppies to lure kids and people, do-gooders, into the woods. They're very, very cunning, and people need to know this. Their mailboxes, their bus stops, their driveway where they park their cars, their wood sheds, uh, front entry doors, um, main windows, especially children's windows, children's bedroom windows. Those are all areas that are vulnerable areas, and that they're watching. They're watching for patterns. Don't
Also, when people are drowned, uh, you have to check for the blood loss because they will drink blood from the people. And where you're going to find bodies is at the very center of any lake or any pond being weighed down by rocks. That's where people should look for them. People who are found on the side of the road, check for that blood loss because they will drink that blood and leave the body. If nobody comes to get it, they'll take it, but they'll always eat that soft tissue first. That's how you know it's them. It's
And they like
the
to look
heart
into the
lungs.
eye, don't they? Isn't there something about that?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, because that's
The
how they
eyes.
get your energy.
Yep. The eye is the window to the soul.
So,
That's not just just a flowery phrase.
They know it's coming out, and they'll hold that eye up straight to their face, waiting for the eye,
So they can absorb
so
that
they can absorb
essence.
it, and then they get that person's essence, and they act more like us.
yeah, because this
What
coming
else?
Tuesday's show, we were talking about what we were going to do, and one of the things I wanted to talk about, we were going to do a paranormal potluck, but I thought about it. We have so many different stories of these things doing mind speak and staring into people's eyes, and I
Yep.
thought that might be a good episode to do. These predators, like looking into their eyes and why they do what they do.
Yep.
Yeah, and you got to understand also that you can protect yourself, even if you're looking at them in the eyes. You have to be in control of yourself because if you're not, you can be sucked in by them.
And also understand that some of these feelings that you feel when you're looking at them are feeling, or even if you don't see them, you just sense them around. If you get a huge attack of anxiety or fear, despair, those are things that are projected at you by energy predators. Those aren't necessarily coming from you. You're just fooled into believing those are coming from you. Same as some of these voices in the mind. They're not in your mind. They're being projected at your mind. We teach ways to deter that. Um,
All in the book. All in
yeah,
the
it's
book.
all in the book. There's just so much to
I
cover.
got a question. One of the stories that I got came from a guy who told me this. He said his grandfather was I think he said grain. Was it the grain silo? He worked at the grain silo.
Yeah.
And he told us when we were out at Thorndale Meat Market, which is Trey Felton, he's written a book too. And he likes to go looking, and it's called rogue tripping. That's what he did. But now he's so busy with his catering business, and he's the one that catered our conference. But he's a Bigfoot guy. And this old guy was out in the parking lot with me and Anthony, and he was telling us this story. And he's an old guy. I mean, like, he's almost 80. So he told me, he says, I'm an old cowboy. He goes, but my grandfather, he's like, he was driving a vehicle, a truck, and it broke down. And he said that this Sasquatch type creature, like he said, type creature, like he didn't really know what to call it. It came out of these reeds. And I kind of know where the spot is just from him telling me. I didn't have time to go drive over there and look because we had to go to Taylor that day. And I was standing there, and I remember him saying something about there was like a low water crossing, and what happened was he tried to cross it. It was after it had rained, and I guess it flooded, the water got into the vehicle, and he crossed it, but he ended up, it messed up, the engine. The vehicles back then weren't as sturdy. I mean, sturdy steel-wise, but not, to where if water got up in there, it was done. And so he was carrying like some grain or something, and this Bigfoot type creature, it wasn't overly large, but it came up out of the reeds, and it just started staring at him, and then it began to speak to him and have a conversation with him like a man. And then toward the end of his little stay there, another vehicle came up, and he said at that point this thing became frantic and started trying to open the door and then popped the window out, like knocked the glass into him and tried to grab him frantically while this thing was driving, with the other vehicle was driving up, because it knew it was about to lose its opportunity. But literally talking to him and trying to put him at ease for 30 minutes and trying to get him to put down the gun and the tire iron. And the sad thing was that the way he crawled out of the vehicle, the side that he was on was locked. He had to go around the other side, and this thing wasn't really letting him do that. It was a really weird story, but I mean, at the time I was just thinking I had never heard of anything like that in that area. But when I went back and I started looking through the different stories of mind speak and hypnotism and all that, it started to make sense. Now, like I said, that's the only one in that area I've heard of like that. But there are multiple stories like that. And like, of course, as we've talked about before on the show, we tell a story and we talk to somebody for one about the Philippines, and I just showed you that somebody messaged us about the Philippines, and it was a Bigfoot story. And it involved like hypnotic whatever, which is weird. And so I just thought those are interesting, and maybe we'll do that, for this coming Tuesday show instead of the potluck we were going to do. So the potluck will probably be just Sunday. We'll just talk about, I'll tell the story of the Black Swan Inn that we had. And then there was a flying cryptid creature that we got a story from just yesterday. And I thought this one's cool because we just talked about that on the show. And then there's been so many other stories that people have given us. So we're going to talk about those on Sunday. And then Tuesday, expect something along the lines of Bigfoot and mind speak, predator, hypnotism, things like that. Guys, you've been a great guest, or a great guest, I should say. Thank you for coming on, and look forward to these guys. We did 3 hours with these guys. Okay, so this is the Cliff Notes. This is the abbreviated version. The podcast episodes will be coming out every Thursday. We'll be doing stories with people, them coming on and talking and having discussions. The last one for Eric Palacios comes on this coming Thursday. And don't forget, Tuesday, we always drop a Tuesday episode. So every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, we'll be PRT. We'll be here aggravating you. So before you guys go, I wanted to say something. Now, we are very good friends. I would say not just friends, but allies. And Bettina Moss, I got on my channel last night and I said some things, and so we couldn't post the video. But I am sick and tired of people attacking her and going after her and messing with her. And it's been nonstop for the last 2 or 3 years. Somebody's always messing with her and wanting her to do this or do that. I want to say this with my friends on the air right here. We are all friends. We are friends with her. We're friends with Jerry and Ella. We're friends with Abe. We're friends with Hellbent Holler. We're friends with Blondes and Booze. We're friends with Vault. We're friends with Barton Nunley. The whole community, Daryl Denton, all these different podcasters, all these different, content creators. I bring content creators onto my show every Friday. or I bring authors onto my show every Friday. I am not jealous. I am not greedy. Okay? I want you, my listeners, to get the full effect. Read as much as you can. Listen to as many shows as you can. There's some smaller shows out there. Rob Yox. Oh, my gosh. The name of his show. Anyway, just look up Rob Yox. He's on YouTube. I forgot the name of his show at the top of my head, and I just listened to it like day before yesterday on Wednesday. Rob's got a great show. Check him out. And then there is Truth Proof. There's Texas Front Porch. There's BMR, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. All these people are my friends. They have smaller shows. What's his name? Ry Voss. What's it called? The Lost Frequency.
Yeah.
Gary Brand, Within the Midst. Yeah, these are smaller shows, but they deserve your attention. And of course, you got the big shows like Josh Nokio's got a great powerhouse show. He's a big boy on the block. What Lurks Beneath. Check out Chris Garatano Off to the Witch. Check out who else? Lyle Blackburn, Barton Nunley. These are friends of ours, and we are all a very big, happy community. And it's unfortunate when people do what they do. We're not going to spend a lot of time talking about it. But they get in there and they want to pick out one of us, like the Predator. They want to pick out somebody from the flock. Well, I am not the self-appointed boss of YouTube or of podcasting or whatever, but you're not going to do that on my watch. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now. When somebody's not messing with you and they're minding their own business and maybe they don't believe like you and your little beady-eyed potato head friend, that's fine. You go over there down the hall where, the BS artists are, and you just keep pumping out that garbage that keeps people in danger.
Take your place at the kiddie table.
Go to the kiddie table. We'll serve you some pumpkin pie and a turkey leg. Go ahead and leave the rest of us alone because we are all united. We are all together. We are committed. Okay? We don't want problems. We don't want to fight. We don't want a war. But if you bring it to my shores, that's what's going to happen. Because I'm not going to sit back and let you mess with my people. Truth, he's another one. Sean Graham, he's another one. These people are my friends.
Vault.
Yeah, I said Vault. I cut for these people. They cut for me. All right? Don't mess with us. Just leave us alone. Leave us be. Because at this point going forward, we are watching each other's backs like a hawk. Or that's a predator. So we'll say, like a sparrow. but we're joking because of the predator thing. But like a dove. There you go. We're watching each other's back. We're not going to let you prey on us. I'm telling you. That's not going to happen. Okay? No more spiders and snakes. We are on the same page. And just because someone doesn't believe like you doesn't mean you have the right to mistreat them. And this one particular person, Mr. Potato Head, up there in Missouri, I know you treated Melba Ketchum very poorly. You treated Jesus Payan very poorly. Those are my friends. And I don't take kindly to that. That's why I don't associate with you anymore, sir. That, and you chose to go and be with a person who was being very, very, very mean and insulting and just harassing and doing what they did to people in this community. I'm not going to allow it. I'm not going to stand for it. So that's what I had to say while my friends were here. Thank you very much, Jerry and Elizabeth or Ella. I'll see you guys, and don't forget they'll be on after this Thursday, the next Thursday for three weeks in October. We'll be doing this on Thursdays.
Really good conversation for that one too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, before y'all go, everyone here with us. There's about 500 of y'all here with us. Predator, Bigfoot, and the Spiritual Warrior's Path. The link to purchase their book is right there. It's pinned at the top of the live chat. You click that link. As of right now, it's 500 of y'all with us. If only 10% of y'all place an order, that's 50 sales for them. They put a lot of work into compiling this information and bringing it to you. So just, if you can, go buy their book and let them know how much it's appreciated. Let them know that what they're doing is important and that it's made a difference in your life.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for that very much.
And I want to say a shout out to Charles Hamill for making this happen. Charles is a good guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're on our way over to Vault Show after this one ends. So if anybody wants to go over there and listen to Vault Show, he's fixing it. He was waiting until after this one to.
Well, tell him to give me about 20 minutes and then I'll see what I can do.
Oh, he's on the chat right now, so he heard you.
Yeah, Vault, give me about 20 minutes here, folks. All right, thank you guys. We will see you. But we're
Thank
not
y'all.
done yet, folks. Hang around for a second. And I'll see you guys, Jerry and Ella.
Y'all have a good night, all of y'all.
Yeah, you too.
Later.
You
brother.
too. Good night.
So that is that. One of the things I wanted to talk about, and I'm not going to take up a lot of time with all that nonsense that's going on over there. They were on their show tonight talking a bunch of sorry trash, whatever. We're not going to stoop to that level, folks. We're not. We're just not going to do it. I got to get up early tomorrow. I got a Texas Oklahoma game. Texas has to do a serious butt kicking of that other team. But I will say this: for those of you who were here last night for my rant, I lost myself in the moment. I did, and I apologize for that. I don't cuss on this show. I said some mean things. I was angry. I got caught up in my feelings, and I saw Bettina hurting, and it hurt me. I saw Abe hurting. It hurt me.
Yeah, because in all fairness, it wasn't just you weren't angry so much for yourself as you were for the pain that other people have been put through and the suffering that they've endured as a
Including my
result of all
wife.
this stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's one thing when someone puts you through the ringer, but when they drag people you care about, people you love through it too, that's a new level. So I just try and keep it in perspective.
When somebody goes after people that you care about, it changes things. It makes you feel different. It gives you cause to go to war. Yeah, I've been joking and messing around on Facebook. I've been making skits and things like that. Go check them out. They're pretty funny. I mean, I guess. I don't know. Get good feedback on them. That's my way of coping with it, because it has been nonstop garbage for a while, and we've been dealing with it. And after you can only eat so much something from somebody. I'm tired of the he said, she said, back and forth. I don't give a crap anymore, dude. All right. And there's other people that have inserted themselves into this situation, and they will be sorry when what comes down the pipe. That we don't have to fight them anymore. Eventually, it's going to be known. If those people want to back off now, I'd be in their best interest to go be spectators. Go back to being spectators. Do yourself a favor. Don't rattle my cage anymore. Don't do that. Another thing, too, I'm going to say is that I love and I care about my friends, and I value my friendship with people. And nobody's ever going to come to me and tell me that I finna get effed up and my people finna get effed up and all this stuff for who I'm associating with, which at the time wasn't even the case. So you do what you do, you say what you say, you get what you get. Leave me alone. Go on with your life. Deal with your own messy house and leave us here at PRT alone. That's all we've been asking. Leave Hellbent Holler alone. Leave Blondes and Booze alone. Stay out of people's chats. Quit attacking people. Leave Bettina alone. Leave Tex alone. Leave all these people alone. Stop messing with people. If they're messing with you, you mess back. But don't say that they are and pretend like it's happening and then there's no proof of it. Okay? If anybody from this chat goes over and starts trolling somebody else, I will not support you, because that's not my way. I've never thought to make a million different profiles and go attack someone. That's insanity. That's ludicrous. Not to mention, I don't have time for that. Somebody tried to say that I did that. I'm like, yeah. Y'all know how much I work.
Yeah.
When am I doing this?
Like, when are you making fake profiles and all that stuff?
Yeah. When am I having time for all this?
Never.
I mean, do you ever see me not doing something? I mean, is there ever a time?
By the time I wake up, he's been awake and on the phone for like 4 hours, and I'm waking up from sleeping, maybe 6 hours, and he's been up he probably got 2 or 3, if he's lucky, 4 hours, and then his day starts, and he doesn't stop being on the phone, whether it's for work, or for some other business dealings we got going on, or for the show. It's always something.
Lawyers.
Schedule, lawyers.
It's ridiculous, man. Folks, I'm going through hell. I have 2 businesses besides this that I'm trying to run. We're trying to get our first build started with our construction company. I got a security company. And then I had the conference. And I'm still drained from that. It was a big, it was great. And then there was a rumor that this person was going to attack the conference. And so my phone was ringing off the hook with people from the conference giving me support, saying, hey, we'll support you. If they say something about the conference, it's on. And I'm like, this is going to blow up into something real big. And I told everybody the same thing. If I feel like I need your help, I'll enlist you. I just didn't feel like I needed it. All I ever really needed was just the support of my wife, my boys here, and the PRT family. You guys mean everything to me. If there's anybody out there that didn't get a shirt, or you didn't get a hat, or you didn't get a book, I will give it to you. I will send it to you. I will make sure that you're taken care of. And I love and I value and I care about each and every one of you. And this other guy who's been doing what he's been doing, he has listeners too. And I feel like he owes it to them to stop. Just do what you do. Do your content. If they like you and they enjoy your content, then do for them. If you don't want to stop because you hate me or because you don't care about yourself, do it for your listeners. There's people that like you and actually watch your content. And I'm not even going to make a smart remark after that. I could. But think about it. You know, I'm a forgiving person. You did a whole lot of things that just crossed many lines. But even that, I don't care about. Just go away and leave me the hell alone. That's all we want as a community. That's it. I mean, I just don't want to deal with it anymore. We're absolutely burned out. We're fed up. We're exhausted. We're tired. And we don't need it. We just don't need it. I'm going to tell you a quick ghost story. If you guys want to hear a ghost story. I thought it was kind of interesting. There is a place, oh my gosh, in my mind. You're going to have to look it up. It's on Lamar. Uh-huh. We were talking about it yesterday. When I was working with my friend Joe years ago, Joe Abrego. It was him and Roger, my friend that passed away. God, what is it?
Remember, we were just talking
just look
about
it up. A German bar, tavern, whatever. It's on a ghost tour. If you guys want to hear it. If not, if people are dropping out of the chat. If you don't want to hear it, I'll bail. Thank you, Susie. I enjoyed talking to you too, Susie. That was awesome. Thank you, Love Cat. You're the best too. You all are.
I don't remember what it's called, but I remember. I know where it's at and what it looks like. I don't know what it's called.
It's right there on South Lamar.
Mm-hmm.
It's across from used to be the police where they used to fill up the gas or whatever. People are dropping out, man. So somebody said the ghosts in our house would like to hear the story. We'll do it on. Everybody's checking out, man. Go to Vault, check out his show. I don't know what he's got planned, but you guys head on over there. You know what? We'll cut out early tonight. That'll give me a chance to go check on my guards, get to sleep, get up, watch Texas win, beat Oklahoma, and hopefully the Cowboys can beat the 49ers on Sunday. And if you're a 49er fan, we love you too, okay? If you're an Oklahoma fan, we love you too. It's just sports, man. Don't mean nothing. I ain't holding no grudges. I'm just gonna boot you from the chat. I'm joking. But check us out on Sunday. We'll be back, folks, on Sunday, and we'll tell that story. It is a ghost story, and we'll get the name of that place to make sure we got it. Just remind me of that one, and then the one from the Black Swan Inn, which I don't know if that's a ghost. I don't know what it was, but that's demonic or something. I don't know, cryptid. I don't know what it was, but I'll give you the story about it. And then we got a story that kind of goes along with what we've been talking about, the Beast of Brushy Creek, from Eric Palacios, somebody who said, hey, I got a story for you. So hopefully I'll talk to them tomorrow afternoon, and I will get her story, and I will bring it on to you. All that and more coming up on Sunday. And then tonight, right now, when we're done, we got to record because we got Tuesday coming up, and we got to talk about these cases of these Bigfoot and Dogman talking and hypnotizing. So you guys check that out on Tuesday. Okay, so bunch of people blowing up my phone, man. Work. Folks, I'm going to tell you, can you do me a favor, and can you please pray that I can eventually not ever have to work again? Actually, I don't want that, because I'm not a workaholic. My parents were workaholics, but I was talking to my business partner the other day. He's 71 years old, one of them anyway. I got two of them, and three of them actually. But he was saying, I don't know what I would do. I said, don't retire. Just if you enjoy it, I mean, enjoy it. Keep doing what you do. Because I think if I stopped working, I'd just dissolve. I don't know. I'm just so I couldn't stand still. I'd have to just be, I don't know what I would do. Got to find something to do. My Uncle Jimmy, he's really my dad's first cousin, but I call him Uncle Jimmy. He's like 80 years old, and he's still going like a 30-year-old. It's unbelievable. Jimmy Turner, he's one of the greatest men ever. My Uncle Butch Turner, another great Turner. Great people. My Uncle Tino Manjovito, my mom's side, very good people. Good salt-of-the-earth people. Butch and Beverly, my aunt and uncle. Jimmy and Mona, my aunt and uncle. The kind of people that I used to wish were my parents. And I even pray for my dad. Like, I'm going to have to. You got to forgive, you got to forget, you got to move on. He was not a good, nice guy to me. He never has been a very nice guy. He tried at different times, but he failed. But he's just a human. He did some bad things. I don't know whether he's sorry for him or not. But at the end of the day, we're all just people. We have to forgive. And you over there doing what you did in Oklahoma, I forgive you. I won't forget what you've done. And I think there's some things you need to be held accountable for. But as far as what you did to me, I can't speak for what you've done to all these other people. But for me, myself, personally, I forgive you. If you go your way, I go mine. You leave me alone. But don't ever step in my stuff again. And you leave people alone that I care about. You're going to have your own battles to fight, sir. Everybody, pray for each other and be kind to everyone and yourself. And I'm going to say a quick prayer. And if that offends some people and you don't want to hear it, then get out. If you don't mind, I'm going to say it right now. Dear Heavenly Father, I pray unto you in the name of Christ. We ask these things that may they be done if it is your will. Lord, I ask that you help these people who are against us, that you turn their wrath away from us and turn their attention away from us, and that they leave us alone and let us go in peace. Please allow us to have peace and restore our community. Things are done according to your will. All things are done by the power of Christ. Amen.
Amen.
So, folks, that's it. Okay? Go ahead and check out Vault. I'm gonna catch you later.